fucks up my chi, but I'm gonna be okay.
Okay, you're okay with it. Steven, are you gonna refill your drink or?
I have a beer.
Oh, you already finished your drink.
Well, you were about to start the show, and I didn't want to start mixing cocktails. in front of
Hold on,
everybody,
but
you know?
I'm gonna
Full
need you
cocktail.
quite liquored up today.
Yeah, it's one of those weeks, boys.
I had a lot of mezcal on that OG shot. Don't worry.
Okay.
What is Armand doing with this mic here? This is ridiculous.
Okay, everyone can hear us. That's good. You know, when you hit that 2-drink minimum, you're always nervous about the technical setup here. All right, boys. Well, light news week, so
Yeah, not much to talk
Should
about.
we-
I was shopping on Amazon Prime because I was bored.
all right. Well, let's get into it. You want to hit the cam and we'll get started. So we got a lot to cover. So welcome everyone to the Alfalfa podcast. We're live on YouTube like we are every Wednesday at 5 p.m. PST. If you're listening, come join us sometime. Check out the YouTube channel and subscribe. All the links are at alfalfapod.com. Today we got Eric, Steven, I'm Nick, Armand. We miss you. Where's he at?
Armand's fly fishing in Colorado.
Colorado for like 10 days, 7 days?
Touching grass.
He sent us a picture of a cast iron skillet over some open fire, the steak and some peppers on there.
Yeah, it's really.
I can't imagine Armand like fly fishing. It
I can
doesn't-
picture it.
It doesn't register in my brain.
This is the first time he's ever like taken
Like,
a
is he
full.
wearing that bucket hat? Does he have like some lures in it?
God,
Bro, have
yeah.
you seen his beard? The beard matches.
It's not like an outdoors beard though. It's like a very cleanly
So
just
manicured.
Like, yeah, it's not a grizzly beard.
All right, not a grizzly beard. You hear it here
But he doesn't
first.
have his laptop, so he's not going to be able to join us.
Say
today.
whatever I want about him, right?
All right, let's say what's up to the chat. Marty, Tom, Cam, Egriz, Adam, Basil.
Basil.
What's up, Basil? How's it going? Christopher, K. Scott, False. What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us in the chat. Come hop in if you guys are want to get involved in the fun. You can support the pod a few ways. You can share the episode with a friend. That's how most people hear about the pod. You can text it over, tweet it. We love you either way. You can throw a little YouTube super chat. Any donations, get your comment up on the screen. Any donations over $69. Who picked that? Get a little text to speech. So have fun with it. Not too much fun. You can also collect the on-chain collectibles. Have this episode forever. Pods.media/alfalfa. We appreciate all those collectors. Always at the top of the leaderboard. All right. So, Steven, why don't you tell us what kind of cocktail you mixed up for us? You made us quite a treat.
It's good. So I went to the farmer's market the other day, as I like to do, and there was this industrious young lady slinging some cocktail mixer, and I tried it, and it was good. So shout out to Garden Party.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. But yeah, this stuff was tasty, so I was experimenting with it, and I found I really liked it with like mezcal. So mezcal, club soda, and a little of this gives it a little cucumber jalapeno kick. Still light, but spicy, tasty. You guys like it?
It's amazing.
It's delightful.
But it
good.
doesn't have a name, right? Like, this is just your own creation?
You know, I probably should have given it a name.
What
I-
region of the world would this come from?
What region of the world does
Yeah.
this come from? I'm gonna say Mexico.
No, literally
Safe
San
bet.
Diego.
Safe bet.
Yeah,
And
so we're drinking Mi Mamá Me Dijo, which I think translates to my mama
Said.
said, mama always said,
Okay. Well done.
is good. It's artisanal mezcal. We drink a lot of mezcal on this show.
Yeah, we have some Pacifico chasers, it looks like.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm no stranger to the happy hour Pacifico.
Pairs well.
All right, well, cheers, boys. Salud. Salud. Salud.
Cheers.
Hey, I can get you. So
Cheers.
boom.
All right, so let's give a shout out to our sponsor, ZBiotics. It's zbiotics.com/alfalfa. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. And I have paper here because we have like a little adjustment to the read here.
Big things happening.
Yeah, big things happening at ZBiotics. So the drink that we take before drinking, before this pod, is no longer called ZBiotics. It's Pre-Alcohol by ZBiotics. Kind of setting the stage for maybe some more ZBiotics products. There's more than one genetically engineered probiotic. It can kind of fix up all kinds of things. So we don't know what is coming next.
Zach, what do you have in store for us?
We got some hints from Zach, but we'll wait and see which one he ended up picking. So yeah, Pre-Alcohol is the drink you take before you drink some alcohol. For the cost of one drink, you can save yourself from all those other drinks you have and save your next morning. Make sure you get to the gym. Make sure you're feeling good the next day. A lot of people confuse that nasty feeling in the morning with dehydration. It's not necessarily that. It's that nasty toxin.
Acetaldehyde.
Thank you, sir. And so the Pre-Alcohol breaks down that byproduct with an enzyme and, make it your first drink before you start drinking. So go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa. Make sure to use the code alfalfa at checkout. Supports the pod, supports ZBiotics. And thank you, ZBiotics, for always giving us some love.
Great job.
Thanks.
Done, sir.
Yeah. All right.
Looking forward to those next products, too.
I know. I think...
You think they have a probiotic for buying the top? Pay a lot of
Protect
money.
me.
A lot of money for that.
help. Maybe a little prelude or a little tease. There might be some charts coming.
There's charts coming this episode.
What?
We got charts. I know.
There are charts coming. So for
Suck
all
it,
those who
Armand.
missed some charts,
Suck it.
Dad's not here, so
not here.
so we might.
We're gonna Tarantino it. We're gonna do the charts more towards the end.
I like how we
So got
replaced
some-
the supposedly philosophical discussion part of the pod with just charts.
It's a different episode this week. We got big things happening.
Okay, all caps text from Armand inbound. What are you guys doing? All right, should we go with the meme of the week and just kind of like set ourselves up? You have it
Yeah.
up, Steven?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
Meme of the week. I was supposed to load that up, huh?
Oh yeah, you're on the
Hold up.
twos.
I am
Eric's on the
loading.
ones.
Meme of the week is loading.
Everybody watch Steven
Everybody's
scramble.
loading.
Yeah.
Don't look at me
the
right
pressure.
He's a rookie.
You didn't do makeup beforehand because I can see the sweat on your brow.
now. Wait, why
He's
is
a
it not
rookie.
up? Oh, there it is. I didn't scroll. Yeah. Meme of the
Wow.
week. Probably not created by, but posted by
Okay, here we
Oh,
go. I'm
boy.
switching over.
Elon Musk.
Caesar.
Caesar injured in group hug. CNN breaking news.
Also a top contender for the title of this podcast. What were the contenders we wanted?
I
Jeff?
like your title.
All right.
You were
It
getting
was
love in the Discord for your amazing title.
Ooh.
It said best title of all time.
See?
It was a good title.
It's not gonna tease the algorithms, but
It made it a little hard to make the thumbnail. But it looked good. Like sometimes I need to see the title like on paper, and then I'm like, oh, it's a good title.
yeah.
You got to see it visually. I think this is a jab at. I know this is a jab at the media headlines from this past weekend. Because something big happened this weekend.
Yeah.
Something huge.
So let's talk about this little assassination attempt here.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna not only talk about it, we're gonna dissect it from every angle and really, really dig in.
And
We'll
yeah, I
see
think
where it goes.
dig
We'll
in,
see
and
where it
but maybe
goes.
ask some just different questions.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So we haven't actually talked about it. We exchanged some like texts because we were all in different places. So where were you?
Armand sent a lot of texts.
Yeah, I mean, he's out in
shook.
nature.
He was shook for sure.
I was shook.
I was shook too. Yeah, I was in the middle of a pickleball tournament, actually, when this. I got a text. There was like a text in the group chat, but I didn't understand what happened because like I got a chat and it was like Trump led off stage after loud popping sound, and I was like, okay. But then I like opened it and saw what was happening, and I was like, oh fuck.
The news broke for me from our Discord. I was like having seaside beverages with Mina and just like casually checking Discord, and people were on top of it in there. That's
Wow.
That's where I saw it.
I was at my best bud's 40th birthday party. We were all just like hanging out. People were like coming in, and someone comes in and is like, Trump got shot. It's like, what the fuck is going on? I actually went to like CNN.com to like confirm. I feel like Twitter, for like absolute confirmation is not the best. And
Yeah.
there was confirmation at the time, and then you go to Twitter afterwards to figure out what's actually going on, get some primary
Yeah.
evidence maybe.
Well, what'd you see on CNN.com? Was it kind of like a Caesar injured in group hug
I don't
kind
even
of situation?
remember. I was like, okay, this is real. This actually happened. And then I went to Twitter to look for videos. Instantly found the actual video.
My first thought was that it's crazy that something like an event like this happens, and our first instinct is like, is this real? That's like kind of new for this
Yeah.
this cycle.
I mean, this is the headline here somebody sent me. Like, I opened this and I was confused. Yeah. So this is from the WAPO. Trump escorted away after loud noises at rally.
Do you notice the convenient crop out of the American flag behind him?
So I was wondering if they did that here because it's a little like the New York Times obviously did it, which is hilariously terrible. This one looks like it might actually be shot from the side, but
No, I think it's the same photo because that photo is so epic.
Oh, it is. Is it? I think it is. Nah. Well, yeah, it is.
It's one of the most epic photos.
You posted immediately. You were like, this is the photo I found. And I think our first reaction after we realized he wasn't dead was he's going to win.
Yeah, well, I thought it was almost too good. The photo was almost too good that I was like, it made me question the legitimacy of the assassination attempt because I was like, how do you get this particular photo that's so perfectly framed with the American flag behind it?
We had a good mix of
Good
all.
photographer.
We had a good mix of all political, aspects at this party, and within 3 minutes there was already like staged. It's
Yeah.
staged. I was like, oh, really? that confident that.
I understand the initial like, oh, this is staged. It's, everything's very perfect, but like, once you realize like actual people get shot with like actual bullets and died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I think that's like a natural first instinct now, and I think it's like a healthy first instinct in today's world where you have to like question the legitimacy
Yeah.
of everything.
It's healthy and also incredibly unhealthy.
Yeah, right.
By the way, Tom in the chat says he was in Butler County
You were?
when this
In
happened.
Pennsylvania.
Holy crap.
So was Butler County where the
Yep.
Yeah.
rally was?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's gnarly.
Shit.
Were you sitting up in any trees at the time, Tom?
You on a slanted roof?
Yeah, so, I mean, I was like a little anxious, like I wanted, we were at a birthday party, you kind of want to stay present, but me and the birthday boy were also kind of like checking to see what the hell just happened,
Right.
I've never scrolled Twitter so much in my life. Like,
Oh, I
I
could-
was on Twitter for the next, like, 36
Your
hours
phone was
straight.
smoking.
It was insane.
Yeah, steam coming out of it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything. Like I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel, but like this whole thing to me feels like super weird. Like in my mind, this should kind of be like, this is probably like a bigger deal, or at least like as equivalent of a deal as like 9/11 to me.
I was thinking more, closer to like JFK. Our parents all remember.
Right, but JFK was like a 9/11 type event. Like
Yes.
it was like a
Yeah, during our
like
lifetime.
just
Yeah.
shit, like and it kind of feels like there's just like apathy. Like it doesn't feel like an incredible thing happened. It feels like a lot of people are like whatever, and there's certainly not like some sort of like rally around the flag unifying effect going on. Like there are still people who are like,
Ooh, I
this
disagree.
is staged.
I mean, can we?
A lot of people on the
Do you mind
internet.
pulling up the little motion graphic that everyone's been
I feel
sharing
like
on
this,
Twitter?
the motion graphic is like the perfect thing to show right now because
I think what's missing in the emphasis of all this is how close, like in terms of quarters of an inch and like microseconds.
Pull
Oh,
it up.
Steven.
Yo, don't
Scroll
give
down.
Me a second. Give me up. We got it.
okay,
Hold
here
up.
we go. Here we go.
Okay. Got the graphic. Yeah.
Go big. Go big.
I'm big.
Full screen.
Yeah. I mean, this is gnarly.
So this is a 3D rendering of his actual head movements.
Matched with the timing.
Jesus.
I mean, twice
So I didn't realize that he got.
So kill it.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Yeah, because they can still hear that.
Let's gonna play that on repeat the whole time.
But it's so crazy how close that was. I mean,
the amount of like, I mean, people think it's like God or whatever. I don't. I think it's just actually pure luck. Like he apparently went off topic, said, "Hey, throw that thing up on the screen, that like chart or whatever," and he just so
Turned to
happens
look
to
at
like
a chart.
turn. Holy shit! So
Chart saves
say
America.
by the charts.
always look at the charts.
I mean, like we were talking about your reaction to this and everything, and like I was definitely not I definitely didn't brush this off. Like I had a couple moments where like I was like really shook. Like I stopped to think about everything, and like I almost started crying and shit. Like it's pretty fucking gnarly. Like we're just like a centimeter away from maybe the country ending.
Yeah, can we?
So
can
let's
we
talk
about
about
that?
let's
Yeah.
talk about what do you think would happen if that bullet didn't miss? Because we were so based on this 3D rendering, we can see how close it actually was. And I've seen like other videos where it shows like the guy had him like scoped like dead center until Trump moved. So
I mean,
I mean-
the country avoided an absolute nightmarish scenario by like a quarter of an inch. I think at the very low end, like at least you have like social fear and anxiety. Like just everyone has this like fear and anxiety of not suring what goes on. I mean, there's certain things in life we take for granted, like, you know, if I drop this cereal box, it's going to drop to the ground. When I get on a plane, it's going to land. And then also the president, you know, is kind of like protected by this super force secret service that has unlimited budget and the smartest people in the world. And then when that comes crumbling down, your reality starts to like have little cracks in the windshield. So at the very least, you have like just mass anxiety and fear. And then, you know, at the most, I think you're talking like full civil unrest with a very heavy-handed government police action
God, yeah.
at the worst, which is scary.
Like I was trying to play out what would happen, and I know the immediate thing you go to is like some sort of like George Floyd type situation, except like now it's like well-armed Republicans, many of whom like are very experienced with like guns and have military training. Like if there was an actual civil war in this country where both sides were fighting, like it would not go very well for one particular side, right? But then I was also thinking like it might not even be like violence, right? Like so a bunch of people, right, a huge swath of the country would immediately be like, this was like an inside job. I think we'll talk about that in a bit because I think that discussion is also like very interesting. The very like few threads of trust they still had for the government would be gone. Like everybody would be like, no, all of the institutions are dead and we're going to like sort of rise up. But like that uprising I think would potentially be very interesting, right? Like so in Canada, for example, you saw the truckers, like remember that?
Yeah.
Like we have similar things in this country where like a lot of the critical infrastructure of the country is like in the hands of like these people who are getting up and doing these jobs who are largely like extraordinarily like right leaning, and like even like a bunch of truckers just decided like no, we're not delivering shit until like all these people like get out of government or whatever happens, and then like you could see things just kind of like dominoing and going like
Not
totally off
to
the rails
mention,
there.
local police forces probably lean more to Trump than the other side, and so
Military too.
Texas was maybe like we're tired of this bullshit. Like I don't know. Like it's kind of crazy to. It's impossible for me to think that like he dies and they just like all right, let's just nominate Nikki Haley. Like people would not have it. Like it would be like it would be nuts.
I mean, 3 days before the convention, no less. So like forget the actual terrible part of a murder taking place, but like political angle, I mean, the whole party is just like decimated and
Right, 'cause they're
probably infighting again.
They're all
right?
so aligned with Trump, right? And then like I think people would rightly so be like, well, we're not going to allow Biden to be the guy either. So like it would be just like chaos because like who would it be?
I mean, you have like a power vacuum, right? And then whenever you have a power vacuum, there's a struggle to fill that vacuum. And in the Republican Party, you kind of have like these, like to oversimplify it, you have like the sort of like establishment Mitch McConnell types, but then you've got like your Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz types, right? And there's going to be like the struggle between those two extremes to, and like, you kind of have to give it to the MTG, Marjorie Taylor,
Yeah.
the MTG Gates like wing, right? Like the you call them crazies, I guess. I guess they're a little bit crazy, but they're certainly like extraordinarily motivated, and I think they have like the weight of like the actual people behind them.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly would have been. I mean, they're good money raisers in their own areas, you know. I don't think they would have just like handed it to J.D. Vance, even though probably insiders knew he was the VP pick by then.
Well, I'm sure like the establishment would have tried to
take over.
Yeah, like as they currently do in the Democratic Party, as they tried to do when Trump, initially took over.
Do you guys think there would have been actual like more than just little pockets of civil unrest? Because I think that's what it would have been, like little pockets of like protests that turned violent, but actually mostly respectful, like protesting, indignation.
I had the same question. I actually had the same question, and I was wondering because like when George Floyd happened, it wasn't like little pockets. It was like widespread protests that sometimes turned chaotic and vandalism, violence at times. And now we're talking about president. Like you would think that would escalate further.
Yeah, I think there would be pockets of like unrest and violence, but actually not what you would think, like full blown civil war. I think like things would have stopped. The market would have closed, like wouldn't have opened on Monday, and you have like the entire country stopping. You'd have the start of like this investigation that would just, we would never actually know the truth of what happened, be debated. But you could also mark that as like the peak of the fourth turning. Like that, I think you're right. It would have totally undermined all the institutions, which is like the hallmark of the fourth turning. And like, well, here goes the final domino before we can restart the cycle.
This is some fourth turning shit. Like we've been talking about the fourth turning since we started this podcast, and it is just there is the battle going on right now. The battle to rebuild the institutions in a particular vision, and obviously we have two different visions competing right now. Might be slightly oversimplifying it, but kind of that is what is happening. I mean, I think it's hard to say what would have happened from like a civil war violence perspective. I think one thing that is obvious is that like we would have woken up to like, well, we wouldn't have had to wake up because it's a 24/7 market. Like we would see like $40,000 Bitcoin.
Way less,
maybe less. Like we would be ruined. I
wonder, oh man. So like, there's so many threads to pull on here, and I know this is going to be like, there's a lot to do, and there's like probably best to be a slow burn. But I have so many questions. Like, instead of like saying like what would have happened in a hypothetical fashion, which we could like go on forever. Like, what do you guys think will happen? Like, it is important to like.
Let's talk about like what did happen first.
Yeah, like, what did happen? Okay, like,
because I'm curious how you guys feel about this. Like, I've been just mainlining just shit.
Are you tinfoily right now?
How tinfoil are you? Are you Marty?
Well, Marty tinfoil is like a whole another level.
That's
of
peak.
tinfoil.
I think that's peak.
I've always been like Marty -2. I think, which I think is like I feel like I'm optimal level of tinfoil.
You're Goldilocks?
I think if you are not tinfoil at all, like if you just are looking at the world around you and you're just like, yes, these are all just random occurrences that can be explained by. You're just like so delusional.
That's like being iron deficient. You're like tinfoil deficient.
You're just delusional at this point. It's just like when I take a step back and like one of the things that's brought me around to Trump is like I've looked at like. You know how when you analyze like space and shit, they can tell things about space. They can see things in space that aren't there by like the reactions of other stuff around, and they can draw conclusions about what's happening in the darkness. I don't know what the fuck's happening in the darkness of government and society, all this shit, but it's very obvious that you put this fucking orange Cheeto guy in, and suddenly there's like a black hole appearing and all sorts of distortions in like the space-time continuum, right? Like there's something that is this like well-oiled machine that is trying to like continue to rule the world, and like he's standing in the way, like breaking it, right? And like since day one, there's been like, it's been very obvious.
I don't know that
there
I
are some
see the
forces that are like trying to get rid of this guy, and they've been like escalating like progressively, right? Like initially it was just like you're sort of sicking the media on him, and that usually buries people, right? You write some like so I think step one is like first like you just laugh at them, right? But then they gain some traction, and then you write like the media hit piece, and like the media hit piece like buries people. It's published some story, blah blah blah, and then when that doesn't work, then they roll out like the sexual allegations. So they got like Assange, right? The very common thing. Then that rolls out. They roll out the Russia collusion, and then the impeachment, and then like pretty soon like nothing is sticking. So they're like, all right, we could throw the guy in jail. Still nothing. And at this point, like I know that Tucker like a few weeks ago or a month ago was just like he was talking about this. He's like, yeah, the next step is that they will just try to kill him because nothing else has worked.
I think it's bold of you to assume that he's like this like paragon of like anti-establishment that like is working
Whoa,
against
no,
the
you're
system.
drawing the wrong conclusion. What I am saying is that there is a system in place. There's a system that is running the world, that is like control over our lives and governments and everything. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that he is a disruption to it. I'm not saying he's like freaking Clark Kent, like he has some like noble vision and he's just like coming down
still like
by the hand of God.
I think what I'm trying to
obvious
say,
he's breaking a system.
What I'm trying to say is I think he might still be a tool of the same system you're describing, but it's just like using a different tactic.
Why is that system trying to kill him then?
I don't think that the system did try to kill him. I think a person tried to
Why
kill
is
him.
that system trying to
I don't
expel
think-
him by any means necessary?
Well, except trying to kill him. Right?
I think it's important that we describe what happened, like in terms of like who was on that roof, right? Was like,
So this is a good point, because like this is where, you know, both sides are literally looking at, okay, who is this person? Because like then we can decide how we feel about this. But the guy is young, he was bullied, he's probably got some mental issues, definitely has some mental issues.
literally like the same guy we've seen time and time again.
But he's registered Republican, but he donated to like a Democratic PAC. He's a dude clearly with some like some kind of training, very into guns. But you know, put a picture side by side by Elizabeth Warren, looks identical.
Well,
Finkel is Einhorn.
Let's take a step back
Like,
for
this
one
guy is like
second.
a-
I
in
think this is an older Nick Carter tweet because everything keeps like updating, and I think there's more stuff now. But I think it kind of like lays the framework for what we can kind of maybe talk about, because I think we want to talk about what the hell happened here, and was it sort of like,
I like this one.
you know, a just guy trying to kill him, or is there something more nefarious going on here?
Okay, so I'll pull it up right now.
So what we know, Leo knew about the shooting 26 minutes before shooting.
We're talking about Leo is
Shooter.
local law enforcement.
Local law enforcement, right? So this bullet point, by the way, immediately invalidated. So there's evidence that local law enforcement and like the Secret Service, like people had their eyes on him like 2 or 3 hours before this happened. Like he showed up
with the rangefinder.
with a rangefinder,
Wait, hold on.
as one does.
Hold on. This guy showed up with a rangefinder.
Rangefinder. A Secret Service sniper took a photo of him, one of the ones stationed in the building.
So
and they let him in with the rangefinder.
oh, because it was like a ticketed event or something that.
Well, I mean, you go through some level of security,
I
right?
think he was outside. I think something about that building that was like outside the literal gate or something. But like
He had a
anyway,
rangefinder.
but the point is like they knew about him.
Yeah, back
well
to the
before
tweet.
the shooting. Leo confronted the shooter pre-shooting. Yeah, so there's reports that the cop actually did end up going on the roof and like back down when he saw he had a gun. There were people inside the building, and this is true. Like, so Secret Service was stationed inside the building. we now know that they were stationed inside of the building and not on the roof because the director of Secret Service said that the slope on the roof was too much.
Oh Jesus!
Even though this is like one of the least sloped, like it almost like is
It's basically
like,
flat.
If you fell on this roof, you would still have to like roll
Barrel
yourself
roll yourself.
off the roof. Like you
Yeah,
couldn't
you wouldn't
slide
roll
down
off.
the roof. If
By the
you
way, the
wanted
memes
to.
on this were great. Like, sorry kids, Santa's not coming. Slanted
Pitched
roof.
roof.
Yeah. And then one of the SEAL Team 6 guys was like, "Well, thank God Osama bin Laden didn't have a slanted roof."
And like we saw like the pic, there's snipers behind Trump on a roof,
Slanted.
which was much more slanted. Like so,
Yeah.
kind of fucking weird. Snipers saw the shooter but did not engage. Like there's video of the guys behind Trump like looking at something. I think this is actually interesting because if you kind of dig deeper, there's some like weird stuff going on.
I feel like
there.
rules of engagement are like if you see a guy on a roof when the president's speaking.
By the way,
You can fire
I
a
don't know
shot.
If people are aware of this, but like, here's a photo of the roof from behind
That's
Trump.
the literal roof. That is so close.
Okay, so spoiler alert: I don't have any experience in like locking down like line of sights for snipers. I don't have any military experience. If you put me in charge of this event, right, the first thing I would do is say like, "Hey, the roof looks kind of dangerous. We should probably put something on it." And if somebody was like, "I don't know, man, that roof's kind of slanted," I would be like, "You're fired. Somebody get on that fucking roof." It's kind of crazy to look at and be like, "Yeah, that's what they left open."
You would think you would put your own snipers on that roof.
You would think you would. You would think you'd have like one officer.
That's like it's way closer, by the way, in that photo. It makes it seem way closer than.
Oops, I switched
whatever-
it. Sorry.
No, I'm here.
Where'd it go? There we go.
Doesn't it seem like really like a pretty easy shot for a sniper from that distance?
Have you guys ever done like long distance rifle training?
Yeah.
Like 150, 200 yards is not.
Well, I think it like all depends on the
much.
scope and how
Yeah,
your
so
how your
he-
thing's dialed in.
So he had an AR-15, I think, and he had like a red dot sight on it, some sort of like ACOG red dot. So it wasn't even like a mega long range scope, but like this is not like a very long.
I mean, if Trump didn't move his
Shot.
head, it would have went straight down the pipe.
That's the
So-
video I saw. That like it was like locked on.
Right.
Anyway, we were talking about just a rundown of what happened.
Let's go back to Nick Carter's.
Yeah, where's my Nick Carter here? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, they diverted resources for a nearby Jill Biden rally. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I would add to this, like you're seeing all these videos come out. There's just like people in the crowd. There's like 20 videos where people are like, "There's a guy on the roof,
Yeah.
guy on the roof." There's like a cop like looking at him.
Dude, so many people were calling this out like on his like ascent up the.
People were screaming, "He's got a gun!"
Right.
over 1 minute before shots were fired.
I mean, I'd like to think we live in a meritocracy, even though we obviously don't, especially when it comes to government. But like, if you're the person in charge, like, don't you be like, wow, like, I fucked up.
Yeah,
This
how
is
did I-
embarrassing.
What an oversight!
This is
like,
so personally embarrassing. I offer my resignation.
yeah. How
Both
like
the Secret Service head and the head of Homeland Security.
I completely agree. How do you come up with the excuse that the roof was pitched? Like that's what you're gonna say?
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
It's disgusting.
It's pretty insane, and right, like, and even if you're like, okay, well, like people are like, why didn't the sniper shoot the guy? He's like looking at the guy. Even if you were like, okay, well, yeah, maybe he thought he was a part of the team or something, or he doesn't want to shoot somebody and get like life in prison. Like, at the very least, like there's a code red.
Yeah, get him off.
Get
the
him
stage.
off the stage, right? Like, get him off the stage. Like, there were so many points of time
Yeah.
where
I actually-
anybody could have just pulled him off the stage out of an abundance of caution.
I actually think that the sniper team did the right thing. I think that the sniper team probably shouldn't kill randos like until they see like somebody shoot.
No, I think if in that situation, if they have a gun, you shoot them.
But at that point, you don't know. Like maybe, I've heard who was Armand Sharon? Like people that used to be in these teams, and they were like, a lot of times you're working with like, local police force or whatever, contractors, and you don't actually know who's up there or whatever, and like you might have an idea, but once you blow somebody's face off, there's no
there's no
undo button.
Control Z. So Steven, you're building up. You're building up either a story of like just exorbitant, gross incompetence or something else. So where do you fall?
Look, so everybody's gonna say like, okay, we got our two razors, right? We got Hanlon's razor and Occam's razor. So Occam's razor was the simplest explanation, right? And I think Hanlon's razor, which I love, is like never attribute to malice, which you can attribute to incompetence.
Yeah, that's
I put incompetence under both columns.
Well, but one is a subset. Like, is the simplest explanation here incompetence, right? I would argue that that's not the case, because what we're talking about here is like a 12-team parlay of incompetence, right? Like, if it's one thing, sure. But like, this kid, first of all, wants to kill the president. Only person in the history of like politics who's so politically motivated that he wants to kill Trump, but like doesn't even have a social media to post something on. He's like a fucking ghost. He registered as a Republican like a week before the shooting. He's like, looks like he's never done anything other than play Dungeons and Dragons. Like he gets up on a roof that was like intentionally left unguarded because it was, quote, too sloped, even though it was like the most obvious spot in the entire place for somebody to shoot. Multiple people see him, cops see him, nobody radios to get Trump off the stage. Like the amount of stuff that's like happened, right?
All right, let me go down this path with you, even though I don't agree. Okay. He also had an exorbitant amount of explosives, which you can't just buy at your local hardware store.
And where were these explosives?
Yeah, and he had he had a nice detonator, a remote detonator wired up.
Where do you get a detonator?
So wait,
yeah, how does one gain the knowledge to do this?
So hold on. So was his plan to blow up the crowd as well? Like
Unknown. I'll take another trip down this lane with you. Someone like that. Someone who's been bullied, has shown some mental illness, is really prone to be like an appeal to significance. And so if we want to go down the tinfoily hat, like someone like that, there's a very easy pitch you could make to be like, here's how you can matter.
Yes.
Do you agree?
So, I mean, yes and no. Like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, you're so dumb if you think this is a conspiracy. You think they relied on this, like, kid who, like, failed out of his, like, high school shooting class to, like, go and kill the president? And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like, look at how they killed Kennedy, right? There were two guys, right?
I mean, do we know? Do we know how they killed
No, it
Kennedy?
hasn't been released, but he said he would. I wonder if he's more or less likely to release that shit.
By the way, I saw a video today that I didn't know existed. Did you know there was a Secret Service agent? Like, you know how they had two guys on the bumpers?
Yeah.
There's a guy who got a call in his ear to get off the bumper. There's a video of him, like, getting off the bumper, like,
what's a
looking
bumper?
in his ear, like,
the bumper of the car he was driving.
Getting off the bumper and then, like, looking and being, like, doing this with his hands. And then 20 seconds later, Kennedy's shot. Fucking wild. Had like Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald, loose end. I don't know. Like, so it's not like this shit has never happened before, right? It's not like, oh, there's an assassination. When I hear there's been an assassination attempt, like my first thought is that it's like the CIA or the FBI. Like that's my first thought. It's not like even a conspiracy at this point, right? And like we saw what they did like recently. Like remember the Gretchen Whitmer thing?
Yes.
What they do, they like have a guy who's like, or a group of guys that like they're kind of crazy and like they weren't even going to do the plot, but the FBI like egged them on and like made it fucking happen and then sort of like arrested them for it. So if you're going to do this, you have this guy, you do the two-shooter thing. You have the kid on the roof. If he kills him, like, cool. But in reality, like, his job is to be like the patsy.
The patsy.
He's to be the thing that diverts frame. And then you have another guy off in some other location taking the shot. Snipers like eliminate the kid. Nobody's around to ask questions. Like, oh my god, look at that. Like,
So it's 2 shots.
yeah, there's 2 shooters if you do this. Like, this is definitely like a 2-shooter thing. I think if there's never any evidence that comes up that there's like a second shooter, then I think this theory is like kind of whack, because I don't think that somebody like has this like crazy deep state plot to kill Trump, but then they're just basically like, yeah, we'll just leave a ladder up on the building, and then this 20-year-old kid's gonna
Okay,
handle it.
so back to Occam's razor. Occam's razor says that this wasn't deep state or anything. This was like a guy that wanted to kill Trump, and he was able to climb up the building due to incompetence. It's almost like hiding in plain sight, because the Secret Service was stationed underneath the building, not on top of it, and they thought no one would ever go on top of it, and he sure enough did.
Well, what's the razor theory called? Where
Occam's razor?
No. I'm talking about a new one.
Hanlon's razor?
A new one.
A
A
new
new one in
razor.
which the people that are supposed to like devise this super secret, complicated plot are the same people that display gross incompetence on like everyday things, in which all of their faults end up in the light of day. So like, how that's what I always get to when I come to these like
Okay,
complicated
here's the
conspiracy
difference.
theories.
When we're talking, like, the CIA and the FBI and these deep state organizations, they're more akin to like corporations. They're not like answerable to people. They're not people like running for election. Like, everybody is in like a particular club. It's like a tight ship. There's like chain of command, and things happen. I totally agree with you that when you're talking about politicians and people talk about like these kind of like broader government conspiracies that require like politicians to kind of coordinate and carry out, yeah, it's obviously like it's a bunch of cats running around, like their tails chopped off, or I don't know if that's not a saying, but yeah, it's I agree with you.
It's definitely not a thing.
But when you're talking about like an organization, like there's people at these bureaus that they've been there for decades, right? They're like a tight ship. It's like you don't have faith that like Facebook can execute on a product or something. It's like a similar dynamic. So like I don't agree with that.
It's funny you mentioned that, because one of the most like famous books about the CIA is called The Company.
Really?
Like that's what they
Yeah.
refer to internally.
That's what they call themselves.
Yeah, The Company.
Yeah.
So okay, hypothetically, in terms of this like conspiracy plot, how many individuals, how many people does it require to pull it off?
It's interesting, like, because I saw Basil in the chat is objecting here because he's saying my hesitation about this being a setup is how many people were involved.
Great question.
I actually don't think that many people have to be involved.
70?
I think you can get it done with like 0 people at the Secret Service even being involved, because you simply have to lay the ground. You have to issue a couple of orders. You just be like, hey, don't station people here. This is dangerous, to like the head of the Secret Service or something. And then everybody below her is simply just following the chain of command, and you're just letting the thing happen. Like, how many people actually have to be involved?
So
Like, you just had to leave this one,
It'd be like one person,
Hole
one
open.
person involved.
you know? And like, there's like a, I think there's like a complicated setup here when you're talking about like these events, because you have Secret Service, they're working with like local police. They each have their sort of like spheres. Like they carved out like some element of this building, I think, and put it in like the local law enforcement camp.
Right,
So then you have
right.
these two things like communicating. Like, it's very easy to like leave like a hole, I think, and to do so without like having everybody have to know that like this is why it's happening. Because like, as you say, you can create a situation where we're all just sitting here like, oh, this is just like people not doing their job. This is just like incompetence.
No. Guys, the booze kicked in, and now I'm getting kind of frisky on you. I think this is so dumb. Okay, here's the deal. Everybody gather around. Here's the deal. You guys are like trying to create these like wonderful stories about how this like can happen, and all it is that like we're attributing too much credit to these organizations that are fallible because they're just human. You know, like they're just like run by humans, and they miss this, and that's it. That's what happened.
Fucking shit.
That's what happened.
You had a random ass 20-year-old going up the most obvious fucking position in the whole place, untouched, This is literally the definition of you had one fucking job. Like, I refuse to believe this. And it's Trump. And oh, by the way, everybody's been trying to get the guy for like fucking 6 years. But this is random. It's just totally random that this happened. It's just it's you have to be so delusional, I think, to believe that there's not something happening here.
Let me ask you this, Eric. If in 18 months comes out what Steven said is like 60% true. Like, there was some funky stuff going on, but the evidence isn't hard. Would you be surprised? Would you be shocked?
No, and I think that's why these like discussions are interesting and fun to have, because like you can, none of us have the information, right? So we're kind of like just playing at what we can put together. But no, I wouldn't be surprised. But I just think that I'm leaning on Occam's razor for this one.
But Occam's razor, I think, actually favors an inside job on this, because
I disagree.
To believe this is like an inside job, you have to believe that there's basically like FBI, CIA, deep state agency that obviously hates Trump, has it in for Trump. We have the evidence of this with like the
without getting caught to this point. That's
like
insane.
We have all the evidence that
like
these people want Trump gone.
That's
right?
the simplest explanation. That's what
in
we're
order
talking
for
about.
this,
For
in order
Occam's
for this
razor.
to happen, you just need one or two high command people to do a thing. In order for this to be like a random thing in incompetence, you need to have this kid with no history just go to shoot the president. You have to have like 7 failures parlayed after that, all falling into place perfectly. Like, it's just like, no, like, I actually think the inside job explanation is simpler.
Okay, you're a little off the Richter here, because like, I mean, the CIA probably knows what I had for breakfast this morning. Like, you don't think they have these counter insurgency type of surveillance on their own people? You're telling me that they did this without any electronic communication? What are they doing? Passing crows back and forth in order to like.
What do you mean? How do you know there wasn't communication?
Maybe there was, but you don't.
Maybe there was. Why are you assuming that there wasn't?
I'm assuming that if there was, it would have been caught.
We're 3 days into it,
dude.
Caught by who? Caught by the people who are perpetrating the crime?
No, caught by the people whose job is to monitor the employees of said company. CIA, FBI.
Is it your assertion that the CIA has never in its history done anything nefarious without the knowledge of like the rest of the government? The CIA has never tried to assassinate anybody?
I'm saying not for the like in
perhaps like a former presidential candidate, perhaps 2 recent former presidential candidates, maybe 3. Like, is that really your assertion? We're sitting here like 70 years out from the freaking Kennedy assassination, and they still got away with it.
I'll be honest, you guys are making it hard to switch the cameras because you keep pausing and then going again.
Sorry, I'm tinfoiling too hard. My blood is like 30% tinfoil right now. I am like the aluminum man.
All right, chat. I want to hear what everyone thinks. We have a good mix of listeners. If you guys aren't in the Discord, everyone is, of different stripes, and I think we usually end somewhere that's like somewhat rational, but all sides are like
everything's on the table.
Ooh. What are we saying here?
I think it is rational to believe this.
I think it's very rational to believe either argument, honestly.
It is rational to weight it with, what I will say is it is rational to weight it with a high probability and to evaluate.
You're a poker player, so give me the expected value on this thing, like probability-wise.
That this is like inside job, like I would put it at like 75%.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Okay.
Like it is like the part of being a poker player, right? Is like, okay, like this is what a lot of people don't get about poker. It's like they're playing poker. You go through this hand, and then on the river, somebody makes this huge bet, and you're holding like a pretty good hand, but it's not great, and you're like, do I call or fold? And like most people who aren't good poker players are sitting there thinking about the hand they have right there in the moment. Do I call? Do I fold? In reality, do I call? Do I fold? Is not dependent on the bet in front of you. It's dependent on the context of the story that has been being told. What happened on the river before you faced us all in? What happened on the turn? What happened on the flop? What happened pre-flop? What happened in all the previous hands between you? What happened in all the previous hands that guy played that you weren't involved in? And what happened in all the hands you played that he wasn't involved in, but that he observed? Like, all of these breadcrumbs, like, tell a story, right? So although it may be crazy on the outside to look at this event in isolation and be like, oh, that's wild. How can you think that? When you play back the history of how we got here, you go back years and years and years in the Trump timeline, but then you also go back years and decades in the America timeline, in the sort of deep state timeline. You piece all these things together, and all these things tell a story, and you're just like, actually, like, what actually is the probability that what is happening right now is this versus that?
That was such a beautiful explanation, and I loved it. And I think you're a fucking genius. But I also think that your genius is like distracting you, because this could just be a guy who got on a roof.
He's open face complimenting me.
I feel like you could like just be getting distracted by the simplicity of it. Occam's razor again. That a guy got on a roof.
I'll say you like raised it from like it's a non-zero probability now. Like I've had it like low single digits. Feels a little higher now.
Low single digits?
Yeah.
I would buy low single digits all day. Like, if we could somehow create a poly market for this.
Oh God.
That could
don't.
actually, like, you know, because a lot of the poly market stuff, you're just kind of gaming like the resolution clause, you know?
Yeah, well, you have to like pay somebody out on a poly market, right?
Like, if I could know, like, if God was just in the room and like he was just like hiding and like he knew, but then the market resolved to like God was like, yeah, they did it. And I'd be like, like, I would bet on that.
Yeah,
for sure. But
the
like
CIA JFK guy's still waiting to get paid out.
But it's gonna be like, by September 1st, these details come out and the CIA admits that, and like, yeah, so I wouldn't bet on that. But like, if I could not know anything right now, but then like after I make the bet, have perfect information on what happened, I would put like half my net worth on like low single digits.
Okay.
It's like way higher than low single digits.
All right. Well, you paint a good picture, which makes it tough to move on, but we're gonna do it nonetheless.
What are we moving on to?
Well, I don't know. Just a different aspect of this thing.
Let's see like another element of this
wanna know.
discussion.
I'm
I
curious
wanna know.
if you guys think it's a lock now.
I think it was a lock before, and now it couldn't be more of a lock.
I don't think so.
Okay, what is an unknown out there that's like making your
I guess I've been seeing this
Why are you
argument.
reluctant?
I guess I've been seeing this argument when like Reagan had an attempted assassination, and they're like, look at the electoral map after Reagan was almost assassinated, and it was like obviously he mopped the floor, but like if you look back, he mopped the floor with Carter in his first election. Like he won with something like 400 something electoral votes. Like it was just red, and maybe 3 states were blue. And yeah, he got like a 7% bump in terms of electoral votes in the re-election campaign, you know, post assassination. So maybe that's the part of the argument that's bothering me. And a lot can happen in politics in 3.5 months. And so I think we are under this assumption that it's a lock now, and I don't think it is. Like, I don't even know where the betting markets are right now, but I'd say like you roll the dice, and a third of the times I think
it's 70%
he still loses.
Trump is the latest.
Which is not a lock. That is not a lock.
It's definitely not a lock. But can I ask you guys this? Like, what are the outs? You know, to use like a poker term, like what are the outs the Dems have here?
I mean, the Dems are like ace queen versus ace king right now.
Okay,
which
so
if you've played poker is not a lock.
So what
not a lock
happened?
at all.
So you
I think those odds are low. Though.
so like
I think the odds are
Biden
way
like
higher.
can't beat Trump at this point. So like somebody can probably maybe.
I think what were the odds beforehand? He was like 60%. That's still not a lock. Like
No, 60% is not a lock. I do think those odds are. Like, I honestly like if you were to. Okay, so if the election was tomorrow, I would say the odds are like 90-10. I think the problem is that the election is a far way off, and like a lot of people think about this as though the election is tomorrow, but it's not. Like, so for one thing, like Trump could still get assassinated by then, right?
Okay.
Odds go to 0 if that happens,
Right.
right? And unfortunately, that is like a non-zero chance, right? And then there's all sorts of other things that could happen. Like, you don't know the universe of like random possibilities that could happen.
Right.
I think if election is tomorrow, it is legit like 90-10.
That's like how I'm thinking. Yeah.
But
But
let's
it's
be
not.
clear. Like, I think most people get confused by like national polls and all this, and that doesn't really matter. Like, what we should be looking at is the next round of surveys in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada,
Ohio.
Arizona. Oh, what's that?
Ohio.
No, he's a lock in Ohio, regardless. And actually, we'll talk about that when we talk about JD Vance. Like,
Okay.
his VP pick, I think he's assuming he's a lock based upon his VP pick. But anyway, I think that's what we need to look at is like this next round of polls in those contested states, in how it looks. And obviously, like, I think I read this to you guys beforehand, but the Trump Vance team issued a official statement in response to the vice presidential debate. And they were like, well, we can't confirm that we would be at said debate and the time and place because we don't know who the nominee will be because the convention hasn't happened. And that would be a disservice to Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, Gretchen Whitmer, etc., and depending on whoever Kamala Harris chooses. It's like, whoa!
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of variables at play. And I guess, like, if you're one of those hardcore Trump supporters, you shouldn't be calling this a lock at this point. It might feel like it emotionally to you,
So
but
help
it
me.
doesn't look like it to me.
So help me understand this. As like a very lay person in the political dynamic, right? What I've seen transpire over the last like 72 hours has been like pretty dramatic, right? So, like, I live we all live in California,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty blue, and we all have like pretty like moderate friends, I would say, and like a lot of folks that I talk to from the moderate side are now leaning like very Trump because the way he came out of that was like so strong. Okay. And then I think that I see on the liberal side that people are like a little defeated, just like, okay, yeah, you got this one kind of.
Yeah.
But the electoral college, like what you're saying, the math matters more so than what I'm saying, which is like the people that I know have kind of shifted a little bit.
Yeah. It doesn't matter
Right.
what the people we know think. It
Right.
matters what this like undefined people who don't really think about who they're going to vote until maybe like 3 weeks before the election in these like 5 states, and they'll decide who the president is. I mean, this did happen in Pennsylvania, so you might be able to cross off one of those battleground states. But in any case, you mentioned that he was strong. He came out strong.
Oh, dude, that was like the strongest I've ever seen a guy come out of a situation. Like, I don't even like Trump, but like that, I was like, what a fucking dog.
So I have a question. I kind of tend to agree that, man, you can't fake that kind of like, you just
Yeah.
almost died. Maybe he didn't even realize it yet, how close he came to dying. Maybe he did. You can't fake that kind of like, just like courage or whatever you want to call it in the face of like almost dying. But I have a question. We know Trump's kind of like narcissistic. So I'm asking, was this pure toughness in the face of like someone trying to murder you? Or was this like an insane level of narcissism that no matter what is going on in the world, even faced with death, you are so narcissistic that you cannot show weakness? And I'm curious I don't know, but I'm curious what you guys think if you can put yourself in that guy's mind.
I think when that happens to you, you go purely animal brain. There's like no thinking at all. You're just reacting at like the core of like who you are. Like, are you a fighter or are you a runner? I think most people would be in that situation. They would be like that, like poor Secret Service girl who was photographed like hiding behind him,
Melissa McCarthy.
who looked like Melissa McCarthy. Yes,
Yeah.
oddly so. And I think until you are put in that situation, you don't know how you will react. And like, I don't think you can fake it. Like, I think like there's something in your brain that just turns on.
But
when
what if
your
core to
life is
your
on the line.
identity is that like I do not
But
want
these
to show
things
an
are
inch
these
of
things are
weakness?
related, though, aren't you?
Yes,
Aren't they? Like,
agreed.
they have to be related. Like I feel like there's a very high correlation with people who are like extraordinarily like tough, and like people who are like a little bit.
Like is Goggins narcissistic?
Yes.
Absolutely.
He's undoubtedly
Absolutely.
like hugely narcissistic, but he's also like an awesome human.
But he's
Right.
also tough as fuck. I don't even I don't care if Trump is tough. He like got tough in the moment that mattered, and like that, whether it's performative or not, it like he demonstrated it, and that's what mattered. And like on the stage, is like where people see you, and it was fucking savage, dude. It was incredible.
And I think like the fact that like so many people reacted being like, oh, this is staged. Not even that they reacted, because I think that was a fair reaction, because everything looked too perfect, right? The photograph and everything. But like once you realize like a guy took a bullet on the roof, a guy died in the crowd, like all this shit happened, you're like, okay, clearly Trump didn't fake it,
Right.
right? Like, I hope we can agree with that. But I think the reason that some people stick with that thought is because they've built this worldview and this view of Trump up simultaneously. It's like the pinnacle of cognitive dissonance. Like they simply cannot believe that this man is actually like extremely brave, because like they've built up this idea in their head of him as this just like greedy asshole who's only in it for himself and will like sort of like run at the slightest like hint of like actual danger, right? So they can't deal with the fact that that's true. And I also think like there's this like sort of like ultra left, I don't know, I don't want to like lump everybody together, but there is this particular difference in mindset between like the sort of like, you think about like the quintessential like liberal and quintessential like conservative online, like the caricature of them, right? Where like the conservative guy is just like, he's like in the gym and he's like not eating seed oils and he's fucking jacked and he's like, poor people just need to work harder. And then like you have like the other guy who's like, you know, small and like the government needs to help me. Like I think like a lot of these people like they don't buy into this like American mindset of like courage and self-reliance. So like when they see it, like it's almost like for them to accept that, it would like reflect back on themselves. Like, why don't I believe? So they have
that.
to reject it.
Hold
because
on,
it looks
I
Okay.
love this.
Hold
I love
on.
this concept.
No,
Yes. Yes. This is so good.
this is like a real thing.
Discuss.
This is a real thing.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, so I think this kind of answers the question I had, but like I want to ask the question, and this can be an answer to it. But like my question is, like, so you have Trump, who literally just got shot, and as we described, is like fucking savage in the middle of getting shot, in the middle of this whole thing, and then you got this
Just
other
gets
guy,
up. He's like, I need my shoes.
and
Takes a bullet to the head.
he's got his fist raised, fight with the American flag behind. Like, dude, this is like George Washington shit. This is like the coolest thing ever seen. Like, literally, coolest thing ever. And then the other guy falls off his fucking bike, like can't speak. Like, it's so bad. And like, you're telling me that it's fucking 70-30, and I'm like, how? How on
It's
earth?
not. And
Like, and what are the outs here? And you're like,
Ugh.
well, ace queen. I'm like, tell me what the outs are actually, not in fucking card terms, in democracy terms, in like election terms, because one guy can't even fucking talk, can't ride a bike. The other guy's getting shot and like raising his fist. What are you guys talking about? What?
But it's like I said, if it was tomorrow, it wouldn't be ace king, ace queen. It would be like pocket twos versus aces. Maybe even worse than that. But
Way
because
worse.
there's all this time and things can happen, you know, we don't know about the infinite decision tree of possibilities that could take place. Like the world is a
Okay, what about
crazy
like
chaotic
okay,
place right now.
so we can't like talk about hypotheticals that are outside of the realm of control of the parties, right? Like if Trump gets assassinated, actually can't control that. But like, what can the Democratic Party do to actually win this now? Is there anything they can actually do?
Oh, nothing. Like
Nothing.
they can't do anything to win this.
Right,
now.
it's
If they
like
win now,
100-0.
it's going to be like a ridiculous like scandal or unforced error. It comes
Oh,
out that
man.
actually this was staged somehow.
Speaking
and
about
Trump
civil
had a guy
unrest,
killed, like
civil
something like
unrest,
that.
if he doesn't
Like, that would
win,
be it.
and it's like margin within the margin of error.
I mean, people definitely wouldn't believe it if it was tomorrow. They'd be like, "There's
Yeah,
no
come
way
on.
this is true." You know, like I don't think that would happen. But yeah, like if the election was held tomorrow and he lost, like people would lose their mind because they'd be like, "There's no way." Like everybody knows. It's like one of these things that like everybody knows.
You're a late 30s male in, like of a certain caste. Like the rest of the country isn't like you. Like we have to like acknowledge that like there is the weak guy downing seed oils, like hoping that the government saves his life as if they have agency over his life. They've replaced the paternity role in their entire life, and they think they so equivalate him to almost as this existential threat. Like my life may not go the way I want it if he gets reelected, and there's a good portion of the population who actually believes that.
Yes.
And so I agree with Stephen that he's saying that like there's this cognitive dissonance that this person who these actions and behaviors that they would love in a president is being shown by the guy that they just can't imagine could even portray these, and it just happened like scene by scene by scene, and it's just like this implosion inside of their heads.
Yeah. I think what was interesting is that like the events of the last few days, to build upon that, gave you like actually a lens into media that is like trustworthy and like not trustworthy, or media that is like pure propaganda versus media that is like not. So if you saw what happened after, right? Like if you turned on like George Stephanopoulos, and like immediately after like the former president's almost assassinated, they're like, is this going to spark Republican violence? And like, how much responsibility does Trump bear for this, right? And everybody on MSNBC is just saying the same fucking shit. It's like fucking crazy, right? But if you turn on like, have you ever seen like The Young Turks?
Yes.
You know, like Cenk Uygur?
Yeah.
So I think most of the stuff Cenk Uygur says is nonsense. I think like a lot of his political policy is ridiculous. But to his credit, I think he's actually an honest actor, because when this happened, like him and Anna Kasparian, like I tuned in and they're sitting there at the desk, like it was like Hillary vibes. Like they're just sitting there and they're just being like Cenk was literally like, that's the hardest photo of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
We are so fucked. Like he was honestly like, we're going to lose. Like this looks so good for him. Like anybody who doesn't look at that and they'd be like, yeah, that looks pretty good for the guy. Like if in the face of all this, you can't just be like, yeah, that's kind of a badass photo.
I think
thing.
goes down as top 10.
You're not an honest actor.
I think
You're
of myself
literally
as
just
like
propaganda.
apolitical. Like I'm actually just like out of all this. And when I saw the photo, I thought of George Washington crossing the river, because I was like, this is like the thing.
You thought of like maybe Hiroshima.
Putting that flag, like stomping that flag down in the ground.
Right.
Like this photo is so fucking rad. His response in the moment is so fucking rad. Like it almost like, I don't even care about this shit, but it made me be like, yeah, that guy's a fucking
That will be in
dog.
your kids' textbooks.
Yeah, that guy's a dog. Like, let's be honest. He got fucking shot, and his response is better than what I would put on all three of us, for sure.
Still don't understand how they let him do that. Like, you shove the fucking guy's head down and just like push him off the stairs if you need to. Like, what the fuck are they doing? They're like, oh, plot didn't work. Yeah, let him pop his head out. You see him put him in the car, by the way? They like put him in the car and he gets up on the step to get in the car and his head just like raises at the height of the car, like just so open. And we're like, do they got the B squad? Do they got like the equivalent of like a Wednesday daytime stripper?
Well, hold on.
I don't even
payroll
want to go into the DEI thing right now. It's gonna feel
No,
like
the DEI thing kind of sucks, but I will say that there were a couple dudes out there who were good, like a couple dudes on the team, like immediately just like put their body right on the line, right in front of him, and I was like, damn, you guys are savage.
So,
which is fucking remarkable.
like
So,
that's like
you're
what
just like, I'm jumping in front of
you like sign up for that. This is my job, to like die for you.
this
Like,
guy who's
that's-
not like your kid, not
Right.
your wife.
I'll literally die for whoever pays me. Like that's a gnarly thing to sign up for.
A friend of ours, Obama had a fundraiser in San Diego at his home. And he said Secret Service went in the day before, checked things out. And he assumed that like Secret Service would be the whole way, which they were. They like followed him in. They're always around him, whatnot. But what he didn't realize is that there is 2 carfuls of like death waiting. He said these are the dogs. Like these guys are heavily armored. They're in massive teams and look like the guys have like been through hell. And they are 2.
Were any of them 5'2" women?
No,
Wow,
no, definitely
so
not.
Weird.
And they're always outside on the flanks, and they're ready at any moment. And so he was explaining to me, like he learned by having this fundraiser at his house, this Secret Service is just the body team. Like they're just supposed to cover him at all costs, right? They're not even supposed to like fight back.
Which is meat shields.
Exactly. Meat shield, get him away, get him wherever he needs to go. And then the death squad is like meters away, and they are the one who goes after the threat. And so another thing is like, where was the fucking death squad within 60 seconds of like shots being fired? They didn't seem to really show up.
They're at your friend's house in the La Jolla,
Yeah.
La Jolla Shores Drive.
But anyway,
That's crazy.
yeah, those guys. We missed
Thought
those guys.
exercise for you.
Okay.
If you had to Hail Mary the Democratic ticket, who would you pick for president and VP that like maybe could win?
Ooh. Who's a senator from West Virginia that's actually a registered Republican?
Joe Manchin?
Yes. Joe, I know you don't agree, but you want ascendancy. You want to rise. Here it is.
A lot of
Like-
people wouldn't turn out for him though because he's too right.
And also, most people don't know his name.
Yeah, true.
Don't
Name
even know him.
recognition's a big thing.
I'll be honest, I don't know.
Right. We
I
talked
heard,
about
I heard a ticket thrown out on the Hidden Forces pod that I want to shout out,
Okay.
which was Gretchen Whitmer and Raphael Warnock.
Okay. So you
So
got
that was
your
interesting.
race
Whitmer,
card covered.
Governor of Michigan, woman, obviously.
You cover off a
Check off the
battleground
woman,
state.
You check off. You shore up that kind of pro-choice thing. You got the battleground states, right? And then you've got Raphael Warnock, who is like the senator from Georgia, kind of a big like he's
Bombastic.
black, bombastic, good speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible policies, in my opinion, but undoubtedly like charismatic, good speaker, shore up the black vote.
So you don't have this cognitive dissonance of like passing up Kamala Harris because you have a woman president.
Yeah, you
and
have to check your woman and you have to check your black card some way because
Yeah.
you kind of put yourself
the
in that
Democratic
corner.
bingo card.
But then you can kind of see the logistics on how that would actually maybe work out. Also, Georgia's key battleground state. Michigan. obviously
Newsom's
key
actually not a good
battleground state.
pick. Like he just
No,
get
Newsom's
eviscerated
terrible pick.
on
Not gonna
his
happen.
California record.
Yeah, it's just I hate Newsom. Shocker to anybody who listens to this.
Literally
pod.
nobody in California likes Newsom, and that's some state. So
It's really weird. Like I've been here for so many years, and I've yet to meet a person who's like I love like I don't know who's voting for. I think people they just pull the blue lever.
Yeah.
I gotta stop doing things like this with my arm.
well, it's a blue
Getting
lever, and it's also
jiffed
just
into
like
oblivion.
a tall, good-looking white dude lever. You know, like and I
That
think
is a lever.
that's
That is
such
a real lever.
It's a real thing. Like
Rich, tall, good-looking
this
white
guy
dude.
like looks presidential.
It's the
you know?
ultimate button.
And he like can probably ride a bike
Yeah.
and like speak.
I mean, he would be a good debater, no
Yeah.
doubt, no doubt. All right,
Can we? Do you want to pivot to the caucus discussion
I think so.
right
I think.
now?
Well, I kind of want
Or
to
you
talk about
wanna
JD Vance a
talk
little
about
bit.
JD first. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, I mean, I mentioned that I think Trump thinks he's going to win because he like set his stone on JD Vance, and like typically, if you don't think you're going to win, you have like 2 things that you cover with your vice president, right? You got the electoral coverage, which states do I need help in, and then my demographic coverage. Where am I like loose in? So he picks a guy from Ohio, which he would have won no matter who the vice president is. And then he picks a white guy. Like he could have easily chose several others if he felt like he needed to like cover his flank on the minority front. So to me, that says, he thinks he's going to win. I mean, he did cover one demographic that is missing. JD Vance is going to break the beard barrier.
Hold on, pull this tweet. Pull this
Do
tweet.
you have the tweet up, Steven?
I forgot about this. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me pull up
This
the
is
tweet.
such a great tweet.
It's in here somewhere.
I'll read it off if if you can't find it easily.
I got it.
Okay. So, the tweet on the screen
This is a
says,
fun fact.
J.D. Vance has broken the long-standing beard barrier in American politics. Last candidate on a presidential ticket with a full beard was Benjamin Harrison in 1892.
Benjamin Harrison.
What was Abraham Lincoln, though? Was he like mid-1800s, like 1860-ish?
Well, based on my knowledge of when the Civil War happened,
Around
yeah.
there. Wow.
Civil War is not in the 1900s.
Momentous occasion.
Welcome.
All I knew about J.D. Vance before was he was
This is
senator
such a good-
from Ohio.
This is such a good trivia question. Like, if I were to ask you, when was the last presidential ticket that featured somebody with a beard, you'd be like,
19-something.
1982? 88? 1892. That's
He's
crazy.
crossed the barrier.
Well, thank God.
All right, 30-second cap on J.D. Vance. Ex-Marine Corps, worked for a senator, went to Yale Law School, clerked for a federal judge, was a private lawyer, then became a VC, most notably principal at Peter Thiel's fund. Wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy, which turned into like a bestseller. He became known as this political savant that could translate to Washington what it was like growing up Appalachia in the Midwest.
Yeah, which I think is like a key part that you're leaving out. Was like his starting point was like grew up in like the center of like white poverty,
poor
to
Rust Belt.
Yeah.
mom with like his
addiction,
mom had like a
abuse.
drug
Okay,
addiction. Right?
I have a request. Can we skip the resume and just tell me what he represents? Like, so he represents poor Rust Belt who makes it in like sort of like intelligent America.
Yeah, so he's like a kind of like a non-establishment Republican. So he's pro crypto. I think a good example of like pro technology. He's pro open source AI, but he's also that kind of Trumpian in the sense that he's not
He's
pro
very-
free
he's
trade.
very populist.
Yes, very populist. And by the way, he used to be a Trump critic. I mean, he was like a paid CNN commentator.
He called Trump American Hitler, I think, in 2016.
Yeah. That will come up
Not like
in a
directly,
vice
but he
president
like
debate.
questioned, like, is this American?
Wait,
Hitler?
so that's odd selection.
I don't think
running mate.
I don't think so. Like, I think everybody. First of all, I take umbrage to this fact that like you changed your mind on something for 8 years ago. Like, what is that? Like, you
Change my
you
mind
should never
like
change your
every
mind.
week.
And second of all, like you changed your mind on like Trump. Like nobody liked Trump. It wasn't like a weird take. It's not like anybody was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you didn't like that guy."
Okay,
he
so-
was so in.
So I agree with that, but I
2016.
kind of felt like for a long time Trump was like really just with his people.
Okay, so to be fair, like there's a huge the right is like a funny place right now because you have like all these. I don't think people realize who like aren't in like the right culture, like how many different factions there are. Tons of factions. You've got like your establishment
Your
right,
Lindsey
you've got like
Graham.
your libertarians,
Right.
you've got your
Ron Paul.
neocons, you've got the people who are like mega pro-Israel, you've got the people who are like mega anti-Israel, you got your populists. Like it is a fucking shit show. You got your religious people, you got your non-religious
evangelicals,
people.
like,
it is a freaking hodgepodge of stuff going on, right? So a lot of these people actually don't like JD. Like the people who don't like JD are people who are not like mega populist, and the people who are especially who are like sort of like anti. I don't want to say like anti-Israel because I don't know that they're like anti-Israel, but there's a huge section of the right who is like, why are we sending all this money here to kill Palestinians? Like why there's like an isolationist kind of wing, especially, and like why are we funding this? There's like this kind of interesting intersection of left and right on this issue, and JD Vance is like pretty pro-Israel. He's like a protege of Peter
But
Thiel.
I was hearing he's like pretty nationalistic as well. Like wants to like onshore manufacturing.
Yeah,
and
He
stuff.
doesn't believe in the free
part
trade
of the
part.
that's part of the populist streak, right? Because you have like Republicans who are like kind of like Milton Friedman type school, like free market baby.
Yeah.
Reaganomics trickle down.
You get like your Ben Shapiro, like ultra establishment, free markets, semi neocon. We have to fight these interventionist wars. Tariffs are bad, and then you have this like kind of Tucker wing, which is like we should use the government to intervene and help things, which is kind of like a left position, but like it actually comes from the right as well. And like one of the things they say is like, yeah, we should use the governments to insert itself in the market so that China is not quote unquote taking advantage of us in free trade, so that we're not shipping these jobs like out of middle America. Obviously JD comes from kind of like the Rust Belt area. This is like a significant issue. So I think it's interesting personally. I think these are like interesting debates. I think these are the interesting debates to be had as a country, not the fucking nonsense that's like happening on the left right now. Like I hate these like,
Well,
like we're spending all our time talking about these weird issues.
Can we bring out the biggest point about JD Vance that is like underlying theme of this whole election is that the guy's 39 years old.
Young.
He's young.
One of us.
Yeah, and so this guy is pro technology. He just so happens to be pro our bags as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that he's 39 years old.
Young kid.
That's fascinating.
This man is a fucking degen for sure.
That's fascinating.
This man is definitely day trading on Jupiter.ag on Solana.
Dude, you look at all the established politicians from the left and the right, McConnell, Pelosi, whatever, they're like fucking sagging
Yeah.
in the face.
So at one point, I'm like, oh, this pick is great. The guy's pro technology. Like, can we just get a young person who's pro technology in the White House? That'd be amazing. But then on the other side, I'm like, it doesn't really matter who the fucking VP is. Like, what do they do? They don't do anything.
I mean,
it's like that scene from
they're attack dogs
from Office Space.
They're like bulldogs, right?
Yeah, and so he's going to be good to defend him. Like, I think Vivek would have been the better defender to go up on TV and be like, oh,
Vivek plays a pretty good bulldog as far as I've
Vivek
seen.
is like appealing to this like very narrow range of people that does include like the three of us, but like not really.
he
Like,
gave a great speech at the RNC. By the way,
it
it's
was
6 minutes if you want to watch it.
It was. I thought it was good.
Vivek crushed it at that.
Yeah, he really
But,
did.
like
and
he doesn't have like the kind of broad appeal.
I bet you Trump was like, his last name's too long, like won't fit on the banner.
Dude, Vivek even joked about that.
Did you see the
That
guy?
was actually so
There
good.
was a guy on
That's why
Twitter.
he didn't get picked. He knows that's why he didn't get
Yeah,
picked.
there's
yeah.
a guy on Twitter who made like $500K like betting on JD Vance to win on Polymarket,
Oh.
and he posted his thesis. He's like, Trump loves like rhymes and branding. It's like Vance, Pence, one syllable, done.
Yeah. five words.
$500,000, boom, easy.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the Amber Rose thing at all, or you want to skip it?
I think it's like an interesting thing. I think it's interesting like observing, like taking a step back and observing what the left and what the right is doing these days, because I feel like there's been this like shift. A lot of people are taken off guard, I think, by the current state of politics because they don't pay a lot of attention, and then their mind, the right, is still this like kind of late 1990s, early 2000s like moral crusader type thing with some kind of Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan types in talking about tax cuts, and like everything is totally flopped now because I feel like we've watched like the Democratic Party become this like party of like elites in a particular way.
Yep.
And the Republican Party is like opening the tent, and they're going after like the working class, and like it's just like whole
They had a
happens.
union leader speak at the RNC.
yeah.
Like that's never happened before.
But there
Right.
are people like on the right, like who are I think Matt Walsh. is
Yeah,
one of
pull up the
them.
Matt Walsh tweet. Look, because this
Do
is
we
a
have
good
that
this is a good
tweet?
way to stage it. It's
Yeah.
it's in the card.
Okay.
And
Yeah, so Matt Walsh, I think he does a pod for the Daily Wire.
if you could,
he's
so zoom in this on, and you can if you can, Stephen. So Matt Walsh says the RNC gives a primetime speaking slot to a pro-abortion feminist and a self-proclaimed slut with a face tattoo whose only claim to fame is having sex with rappers. Truly an embarrassment. Not a single voter will be mobilized by this person.
This is such a stupid fucking take.
Thank you. Okay,
can't
I was wondering if you agreed with this. That's why you
No,
put it
it's
in the
such a
card.
stupid fucking take. It's like, what is the point of having a political party? Or like, obviously you want your stuff enacted, right? But if you lose every fucking election because nobody likes you and they think all the stuff you stand for is shit, and you get nothing enacted, you isolate everybody because you're just this like kind of mega Christian like evangelist, and like you can't like, what is the point of anything? Like Trump is interesting because he's this like, he's obviously like a pragmatist. He sees the writing on the wall. He's like opening the tent. Like you can see he moved to the left on like abortion. He moved to the left on gun control. He's like appealing to people who are not like random white rich people who pay a lot of taxes. And I think this is a good thing because I think this is like an area of the populace that the left is like
So
left
next
completely
time,
open.
next time you guys show a tweet, you got to explain what we're showing because like I don't know. You read it, but I don't know who this is. I don't know what's going on here.
She's like a media personality influencer. Like she had, I don't even know what
She's
her.
got 25 million followers.
She dated
Sort of
Kanye
like
in the past?
Yeah, basically a kind of pseudo.
Yeah,
not
so-
going to call her a porn star.
So just
But
next
she's,
time,
like,
set the
influential.
stage a little bit for what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like the whole convention, once you get to the convention, you got a nominee. The whole idea is that you ever so slightly move to the center, right? Because you just won your primary in which you had to go speak to your base and go far to your base and really get them riled up. Okay, now we got to compete against the other side, so we got to move to the center. And like, what better speaker than someone? And she tells her story in 3.5 minutes, and it's very simple. She thought Trump was a racist. She thought he was homophobic, and she was told to hate him. And then her dad was like, he's none of those things. What are you talking about? And so she goes, so I did my research. I like watched the rallies. I did this stuff. And then I realized like, in for all the LGBTQ people who hate Trump, I think out of anything, there's one thing you cannot put against him. You could put a lot of things against this guy, but you cannot put against him that he is not open to like any type of homosexual, lesbian, gay, name your acronym. Like he has always been open to that. He's never said anything bad about them.
He's literally the only presidential candidate who went into office pro-gay marriage, or
Right.
was like the first.
Into office, not after they got elected. So anyway, she did her own research, and she basically just told her story about how she converted, and she realized that, wow, I did my research. And
Okay, so this is the perfect person to have
Yes.
at the RNC because
Right.
she has 25 million followers and she flipped from her previous position.
So Matt Walsh has a dumb take, and we just wanted to point that out.
Dumb take. And I'm kind of the target audience of this. Like I wasn't in like the freaking young Republicans in college and shit. Like I don't want to walk around like I don't register as Republican. Like I just want like certain things for my life in the country and everything. I think are a good idea, and like I want to like align with some party, and I don't want to have to like cringe like every 3 seconds because I have to buy into some fucking nonsense.
All right, so
and it's
tee
like
this up for us
dogma.
because this is the next topic. If you find yourself one of us,
Okay, this is a deep topic.
this is
like
this is the main question.
this
like
is the big topic.
you're a radically moderate, right? Like you don't even necessarily like find yourself in one tribe or the other. When you say, "Well, do you like Trump or not?" Your answer is like, "Well, about which issue?
Yeah.
Do you like Biden or not?" Well, what are you talking about? Which
is like
policy?
honestly most of our audience probably. It's like people that are just kind of like middle of the road, moderate,
non-dogmatic,
non-dogmatic.
non-tribal. So the question is, we actually only have 2 parties to choose from. So who do you caucus with? Who do you vote with? If you find yourself in the middle, which team is more likely to shift to your way of thinking around the world, right?
So yeah, we're like you know how like the girls are like I can change him, like this is the question. It's like who can we change, or like who can we like sort of learn to live
Who
with?
can we
Maybe it's
save?
like an arranged marriage.
Who can we save?
And like yeah, who can we save?
Steven
Like,
is playing Captain Save-A-Ho with presidential
I think
politics.
I think it's an interesting question.
E40 would be proud.
And look, from my perspective, I'll just give my perspective, and feel free to disagree with it. Like I've found myself caucusing with the right because, like, when I look at the things I hate about the left and I look at the things I hate about the right, most of the things I hate about the right currently, Trump is like, oh no, we're not really gonna do that. No, it's whatever. It's not a big thing. And then you have like the Matt Walsh is like, why are we doing all the thing? And it's just like because like that's not what everybody wants. Like people, I think like broadly speaking, want to like grow up. They want to be safe. They want to have good jobs. They want their family to grow up and like have a better life than them. They want the country to be safe. Like all these things, broadly speaking, I think that's what people want. And I think the crazy shit people don't like about the right is like they don't like the ultra religious shit. They don't like the ultra like abortion stuff. Some people don't like the ultra gun stuff. Like I personally don't think that's that big of a deal or has an impact on the country, but you know, to each his own. But it's like mostly those two things. And like Trump is like, he's moved like so far away from those things. Like yes, like he did nominate those Supreme Court justices and they did do the thing. But like I personally think like the Roe v. Wade thing was like a good legal decision, strictly speaking. I think that returning power to the states is generally a good principle that trumps like all of my other stuff, and that's like a higher order thing. So I'm okay with that. You know, and I don't love the ultra religious stuff, but like I also grew up super religious, so like I understand these people, and I know that they're not actually trying to implement like a theocracy, which is like the fear porn. So I know that's not true, right? So like those things for me have been mitigated. Whereas like on the left, like I feel like the crazy shit about the lefties, I'm supposed to accept that we're just like doing these fucking crazy wars abroad, getting all these people killed, spending all this money, like the borders just like open for why? Like why? And then like the cultural policy is like fucking insane to me. And it's just pure gaslighting. So I'm just like, who can I learn to live with here, right? And even if I hated both of those things like equally, I would at least as a default go to the side that would like make me wealthier and more prosperous, right? Yeah. I don't think that's the left. I don't think that's the left for anybody, not even somebody who's like poor, because I don't think people get richer by the government just like taxing rich people
or putting a 5% rent
capping
cap increase.
Fucking rents. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's so delusional.
Pretty myopic, yeah.
So I'm like looking at all this like pragmatically and being like, okay, like I can live with this side. This side is changing, right? And I like the direction this party is going. I like the Vance direction. I know he is like on the religious side. I know he said some things, you know, that people don't agree with on the religious side. But on the other hand, like he's also undeniably incredibly fucking smart. Probably like a fucking 180 IQ, yeah. Right? Would you go to Yale or Harvard or some shit? Yale. He like saw 9/11 and like got up and listened in the military, which is more than anybody who criticizes him ever did, right? And it came from nothing, like hillbilly America. And oh, by the way, he like understands like crypto and AI, which are probably two of the most important things in energy. So Trump and Vance right now, energy, AI, and crypto, like these are three like really important things. And I think the positions on all three of these issues are correct. And I think the positions on the Democratic side on all three of those issues are fucking wrong. And not I'm talking about immigration, which I also think one party has completely wrong versus the other, right? So can I learn to live with like these kind of downsides? Like, yes, especially with like a Trump who's not a Matt Walsh. Anyway, I'm rambling. So
all right,
what do you think?
Mine's somewhat pretty similar.
Try to breathe, Brian.
My
just like I just
you turn a little red. You breathe. I see the veins in your forehead.
I'm exasperated. Like, you know, I've felt like I felt gaslit for many years. I don't like being gaslit.
Armand knows this.
Don't gaslight me, bro.
All right. So on the right, I don't like the war, the neocon portion of this. I don't like the trade wars.
What does neocon mean? Help a guy out.
Neoconservative, like
no, but what is
okay,
pro-Iraq war, like let's go bomb Iran proactively because like hypothetically they will use a
what they
nuke.
stand for?
Love war. Proactive. America
in my mind,
influence the world.
I don't know if this is what it means, but like in my mind, when someone says neocon, I think like pro-war.
Is there and like TLDR? Is there somebody who can associate with that?
Lindsey Graham,
Lindsey Graham, John Bolton.
Okay, those are the neocons. Okay,
yeah.
Funny that Dick Cheney had like a financial interest in war.
Yeah, funny how that works. Huh?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Okay,
interesting.
I'm pro free trade, and unfortunately, there's no party that represents that anymore. So I still don't like that about the Republican Party. Religion, I also don't, and the abortion thing, I don't typically agree with them. So those are my knocks. But then on the Democratic side, I dislike a lot of things, but I'll tell you one that just like needles me in a way that like is like this virus, this thing that like enters into people's brains and affects their attitude, affects their agency to actually improve their life. And it's this social engineering component. And if you're not familiar with social engineering, it's a tactic that hackers use to infiltrate technology systems, right? They use social engineering to trick people to give up their seed phrase, to give up their password, to give up the admin keys, control the system. And I feel like that's what they try to do to us every day. Whether that is
How do you mean?
whether that, I think the biggest part is like this message of like victimhood. And it just like, it is one of the dumbest things that you could do as a human is like try to identify as a victim. And I think that most people actually find that insulting, right? Like their whole pitch to Black Americans, African Americans is you're a victim. This whole time you've been a victim and we're the only party who's going to save you. And I find that incredibly disrespectful. I find it incompetent, like not actually a solution. And you're just seeding this like mind virus in the very people who you're proclaiming to protect and hopefully encourage and uplift economically, socially. And you're implanting the one thing that like would subvert all of that. You're removing agency from that person when you start to do that. So I think there's like a lot more social engineering that goes on. At least that's what I feel. And this is like an opinion. And then when I look at, okay, and there's a whole list of other things, but that one really ticks me off. Okay, so you look at both columns and you're like, okay, which one is moving towards the middle? And I see on one side at the RNC, there is no longer like a national abortion ban on the table.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think most Republicans would accept the fact that like, okay, marriage doesn't have to be between one man and one woman. And Eric Trump, for as much like 80 IQ stuff this guy fucking says. I mean,
is he dumb? I know nothing.
Okay,
about
he might not be, but he definitely like looks dumb.
He plays a role.
Unfortunately, and like some people just have a face where
He's got a dumb face?
He's got a dumb face.
So they asked him. They said,
Sorry, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I actually don't know if he's dumb. I just like.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He's like resting bitch face, but it's resting dumb face.
So they asked him. They're like, your dad is saying there's no national abortion ban. It's okay with gay marriage. Like, what's going on here? He's like, oh, we've always believed that. And he had this quote: at the end of the day, this country has holes in the roof, and you got to fix those holes and stop worrying about the spot on the wall in the basement. And I think that's what we're focused on. We're focused on like, you know, these issues, these social issues that are not actually going to solve what people really want in their lives. Like they want to feel safe. They want to have economic opportunity. They want to be able to grow financially and hopefully that their kids live in a safer, more prosperous world. And these social issues do not affect that. Like in my idea, that the president should literally not comment on social issues. That is not in your purview. You leave that to the states and just do not comment. What do you think about X social issue? I'm the president of the United States. It's up to the states. No comment.
It's partially on the media and like the people who watch the media as well, because all they clamor for is where do you stand on the social issues. Nobody actually cares about the economic policies or the international policies.
Right.
They just translate well to Twitter.
Yes,
know?
and like everybody just cares about that stuff, which you, I think, rightly say that they shouldn't even really comment on.
Right. So I'm curious, Eric, you kind of like identify as someone who's not ignorant, but like ambivalent to kind of these things. Where do you find yourself caucusing on? You're like, you got to pick a side, bro.
I got thoughts.
Or a resident apathist.
Yeah, I'm like mostly apathy, but I think I have.
Please maintain that position because like that is probably more representative than anything else.
Well, I think the apathy helps for my overall well-being, but I will say that I think I have observations on the left and the right. Okay, and I think like I live in the West Coast, right? I've lived in the West Coast. I've lived in San Francisco, San Diego, etc. The West Coast is full of liberals, and I know these people very well. Liberals. They're all well-meaning. Everybody everybody who's liberal is well-meaning. It's like it starts from a position of compassion. Like, where does it stem from? It's not like to try to overthrow the government or try to have this like malicious intent.
Yeah.
It's everyone starts with the idea of like compassion. They see things that are that have been unjust in the past, and they're not wrong about that. You know, like racism was a thing, and prejudice was a thing, unequal wages between genders was a thing, and they see that and they want to right the wrong. Do you guys agree with me on this?
Yeah,
at least
agreed.
right. So like,
Because you're not talking about IQ or like the efficacy of these like policies that just like come from a noble place.
right, like they have an emotional response to say like, hey, this was a wrong, and I want to make this more just, right? And that's where it comes from. How it plays out and like the policies that get enacted, I think we can like identify the fallacies within those, but like most people aren't even like thinking that deeply, because most people are like me, where they don't actually like care that much, but they do see the injustices of the past and want to like play a role of being like, hey, like less racism. And here's a real thing, like outside the United States, it's fucking worse. Like, we're good. We're actually very good here. And like probably in large thanks to these people who are like trying to fucking help the situation. You guys don't watch sports, but like
You don't know that.
Argentina just won Copa America, and the Argentina soccer team just came under fucking scrutiny because they were singing fucking racist chants against their opposition on the fucking team bus ride home. And like, it's fucking pretty ugly outside of the U.S. Like, you think it's ugly here? It's fucking worse outside. And I actually think that, like, you know, liberals probably have it right in terms of compassion. I agree.
Oh, should we bring back the compassionate conservative?
You know, Thomas Sowell has an essay, Compassion versus Guilt, and other essays.
Ooh.
I know,
'Cause
the man has written about
I
everything.
actually thought about the word guilt when you said that, and I couldn't place it in like a rational framework while you were talking, but I was like, I don't know why this word just pops up. So do you get where like that comes from? Like, it's like, I'm good, I'm successful, I don't face these, but I like see other people, so it's the guilt that drives it
Well,
more than like the first principle of like
yeah, and I also
equality of
like,
opportunity.
you know, it harkens back to what you said, where you know, like you want to you want to be empathetic to somebody who was like mistreated, right? But then if you treat them like a victim forever, then that might be in disservice to their overall well-being, right?
Right.
And which is what your point was.
Right.
And you know, like I'm not trying to like prescribe a way to act going forward. I'm just saying, like, there are people on the left who are like well-meaning and well-intentioned, and like they're actually good people, and to just like label them all as like these fucking retards is wrong.
I don't think we
I don't
have.
think they're
Like, to be honest, to be in
I
good
don't
faith, I don't think
our words. I can't believe you said that.
I don't think we have, because we also have very, very close friends who are very liberal. Like, we have people in the Discord who are very liberal. We probably all have family members who are very liberal, and I don't think we like look at their, you know, underlying character and be like, well, there's clearly a fault here. Like, I don't think any of us think that.
I mean, I would generally describe people who are like way to the left of me as like well-meaning people who have not thought through the implications of anything they want to do, but they have good intentions, right? But like, if you get down to brass tacks with most of these people, right, and it kind of comes down to the same thing. You feel there's a wrong in the world, and you want to right that wrong so that you can feel better about yourself by creating additional government bureaucracy and confiscating money from people who earned it.
Right.
Like, that is like, when you actually get down to the brass tacks of it, that is what these people want. Like, most of them have not like I started a charity or a nonprofit to do this, or I'm not like, no, most of them actually just vote for taking other people's money. Right. And they outsource it to the government to do it, and then
You
the
know, most of their
problems
policies
get solved.
remind
That's
me
like the
of?
problem I have, even if the intention's good.
You know those YouTubers who are like, you know how to create passive income? Sell a product online. And I'm like, okay, yeah, in theory,
So
that
easy.
sounds amazing. It sounds so easy. Like, why don't you just sell a product online and like reap the benefits of the passive income? But then someone who's like a little been through it before is like, well, did you think of like, you know, the cost of goods sold and the shipping costs and how you're going to acquire customers and like, will those customers come back, or do you know, like you start to actually get down to, like you said, the brass tacks. And I just kind of like put them in that column, which I agree with you that they're well-meaning, but when it comes down to like efficacy and what will actually happen, and not only the first order consequences, but the second and third order consequences, that's where I feel like I'm just not being spoken to. Maybe their policies are right, maybe mine are wrong, but no one's ever like spoken to someone like that.
Yeah. And I think we see this like idea of in all of our discussions on Alfalfa, we see this idea of debating between theoretical idealism versus practical realism, and maybe that's at play here. But
I like that.
But let me go in on Republicans now
Yeah.
for a little bit. What I've seen here as a outside observer as well, like I'm probably more Republican than I am Democrat, but I don't really affiliate.
Where'd you end up on the compass test?
More Republican than you guys.
Were you libertarian or
Very libertarian, but also the most Republican of us.
Okay.
I was the leftmost on the
You were-
compass
you were
test in
actually
this
the most
pod.
liberal.
Yeah, I know, shocking.
But like, yeah, I just, you know, like I don't like Donald Trump, the guy.
Donald Trump?
I like him more after being a fucking savage getting shot. But let me just go in on Republicans a little bit. So I think what Steven said before resonated with me when he was saying that like the Republican Party is just a mishmash of all this crap that they've like amalgamated, you know? And I think what I see on a very broad spectrum, you zoom out on American politics at large, the Democratic Party is larger than the Republican Party, like on a popular vote every time.
Yes.
So we have those numbers. So like the Democratic vote should probably win every election, but we have the Electoral College as well, kind of balancing it out. But like also, what I think I see is like the Republican Party is always fighting against these demographics that are working against them. So you always have to try to find these little, like, you carve out these little votes that are for you to win, you know, and like within my adult lifetime, the Republican Party has like totally shifted. You know, like my parents were probably like Democratic when being Democratic meant something else. Like being Democratic meant like, you know, like fiscal responsibility or whatever. And like that definition has totally changed. And then being Republican was about fiscal responsibility. And now being Republican means you're like a Christian conservative, or you're like military focused or whatever. It's because like you have to like keep carving out these little niches that are like a way for you to maintain power. And I think the Republican Party is like always fighting against the demos, which are like sort of at the crux of it, like the bourgeois against the proletariat, and the proletariat's always larger,
Right.
and you have like this tyranny of majority thing that's like you're trying to balance.
But it's funny because that swapped. Like I feel like the Democrats are the party of the bourgeoisie,
Yes.
and you know who really, out of like all the professions, and this is a topic we're gonna have to kick to the next pod at some point, but like out of all the professions, it's truckers, policemen, farmers that vote hardcore Republican, and you look at who votes Democrats, and it's like professors, teachers. I mean, they just go on, and it's
Silicon
like
Valley.
Yes.
Silicon Valley.
This is a good point. There's a crazy little shell game being played right in front of everybody's eyes right now. There's a big swapperoo happening, and nobody realizes it yet. But the Republicans have just checkmated the future in a way, because while the Democratic Party, so the Republican Party has had like kind of like a microcosm of the problem with the Libertarian Party for a while, right? Like, why does the Libertarian Party not have any power? It's because they're all like so anti-institutionalist that they hate it, so they have no institutional power. obviously. So they're like they don't exist, right? And then the Democrats love institutions. They think they're the best thing ever. We need more of them, so they dominate that. And then the Republicans get stuck in the middle, but they lose to the Dems, right? But in the future now, like, so what have we seen over the last couple of years? We've seen this weird shift happen where we had like this wave of unemployment hit the country, but it happened in a very specific subset of the economy. It happened in like the press. It happened in like white collar, like middle rung tech jobs, white collar like management, right?
Who are the essentials?
Yeah. So if you think about like that South Park episode they ran where like the plumbers and everything were pulling up to the Home Depot like when they're Gucci and
yeah.
then like hiring like lawyers to kind of come in to like help them with stuff for like $8 an hour, right? Like you think about what's happening. Like there's this bifurcation of the country.
I never saw that episode.
It's an amazing episode.
It sounds incredible.
It's just so funny.
South Park always hits.
It's so
dude.
plugged in. Like Randy is like, I'm gonna teach you how to do things to his son, but he just teaches him how to like call the handyman. But then like the handyman is like he's charging like $1,000 an hour. Like he's making so much money. He's making money hand over fist, right? And like, we see this in the world around us. Like I know plumbers who make like $300K a year right now. Like there are electricians making bank. Like people who are working with their hands and doing stuff are making a lot of money. They're gaining like a lot of like wage growth, like net of inflation. People who are losing out are these people who are getting like carved out by AI in a way. Like AI can't like unclog your drain, but AI can definitely write your fucking bullshit article for BuzzFeed about like just nonsense, right?
They
Like,
review your
and
contract.
AI can definitely code the mediocre code you wrote, right? So what do we have in the near future? In my mind, the near future is this like this kind of dichotomy of like AI and things that revolve around AI and all the stuff it's displacing, and like labor. Like there's been this like ascension of like labor and this ascension of AI. Who's in the Republican Party now? Like the Republican Party is pulling away all of the AI people, all the like these Silicon Valley people. They're all moving to the Republican Party. The people who control AI, and like who's also in the Republican Party? The electricians, the truckers, the plumbers. Who's in the Democratic Party? Like fucking professors, like people doing like. So there's this seismic shift happening. Like one party is like, within a few years, they're going to control all of the essential elements of like the American economy, and the other parties are going to be these like obsolete institutionalists, like struggling to like hold on to power.
But the institutionalists hold the power, right? Like
They do, but they're like the you know the Balaji kind of thing where he's like, you can have a great product or great distribution. The left product is shit right now, and you see this like in the media and everything.
But they got
like,
great
but what does the media
distribution.
do? The product is shit, so they try to control the distribution. They try to like ban their other people who are competing. They try to do all these things because their product sucks. Same thing is happening with the politics right now. Like the product sucks, so they're trying to clamp down on the distribution. They're trying to say like, you're a Nazi, you shouldn't be allowed on TV. You're this, you're that. But like the product like sucks. But like in a world where like one party controls like the AI and the tech and like the hard labor, like what is the other party even doing? And I feel like people aren't really talking about this yet. And like the JD Vance is like the intersection of these two things, because he comes from like the kind of quintessential like origin of this kind of like hardworking labor element, like blue collar of the country. And he's like merged with like the Silicon Valley, like VC crypto bros, right? Like the setup is there.
I love it. We've had a long politics streak last 5-6 episodes.
I know.
You know,
I think it's like it's the right time to have this kind of
Election
thing.
year.
Election year, and like this shit matters. I think it particularly matters for our bags if we get to that segment.
politics.
We have to get to the
hurts
segment,
my
man.
bags.
We promised the people.
Every election year.
We promised the
These
people.
motherfuckers spend so much money on advertising,
Like,
and they just raise
for
the cost
those-
of ads everywhere. I fucking hate it.
For those folks who stuck around through this entire politics talk, I feel like they should be rewarded with some
All right, but
charts.
before we do that, Steven, can you read this? Because I need to go to the bathroom.
I need to go to the bathroom too. I wanted
So
you to
do
read something
I.
while I went to the bathroom.
I need to fucking change channels, but I need to pee.
Can you do this, or do I need to do it?
Oh, you want me to magic spoon while I
Yeah.
have to pee super badly?
Yeah.
Nick, the things I do for you.
Oh, I love you so much.
Here
Here you go. Okay, see you in a second.
All right, guys. Well, Nick has just handed me some notes. All right. So as you guys know, is the camera on me?
Yes.
Do I got it? I'm gonna shill this cereal, baby. We love Magic Spoon on this podcast.
Sure do.
We sure do. I eat it myself. Like to eat it straight out of the box throughout the day. Sometimes I put it in a protein shake. It's freaking delicious. 4 grams of net carbs, 0 grams of sugar. Stuff is it's not liquid gold because it's a solid. It's solid.
I never
gold.
thought about putting in a protein shake. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it's highly delicious. Comes in cocoa, fruity, peanut butter, toasted, also blueberry muffin, which is super dank. 140 calories per serving, and all the friendlies you can think of. It is keto friendly, gluten friendly, grain free, and soy free. If you would like to try some, support the pod. You can go to magicspoon.com/alfalfa. Use promo code alfalfa at checkout to get a moderately fat discount. If you or the kids don't like it, they will refund your money, no questions asked, and I will write you a thorough letter of apology.
Well, you can't beat that deal.
Yeah, hand mail to your address because I'm good. I'm good for that.
Steven, I got a question.
Yes,
Since I think you're like the biggest magic spooner of us all.
I am.
You have a favorite flavor?
Yes, I like the blueberry muffin. I would also like to point out that Carne Asada Chris has put Rice Krispies in or Rice Krispie treats in my box.
Yeah, is that I don't know, is that like a friendly addition that would be nice in a peanut butter box?
It's
Or
fucked up, Chris. I mean, it kind of tastes good actually, with peanut butter Rice Krispie combo. But
yeah, he asked me to record your response, but I forgot. So yeah,
Okay.
got you though.
All right, Nick. I read the ad.
Okay.
I did a great job. Oh, I broke my mic.
Sponsored by the Alfalfa catheter.
Okay. So while you segue us into the final dessert, I am going to also make a little bathroom run because
Okay.
I'm about to die.
Okay, go. Go.
I still got to man the DJ booth.
I'll go in your spot next.
Okay.
I'll manage the cameras after we rotate. Eric, have you been buying this dip? Are you scared? Or are you defiantly bullish?
So we've taken a couple weeks off of irresponsibly long, maybe a
Mhm.
couple of months now.
Yeah.
I was like always of the opinion that I had a pretty good allocation that I felt was like solid, and then going into these like summer months, I was like, I don't want to like necessarily like drive myself crazy, train the chop or whatever. So I took a few weeks off, and I'm back. I am so back. I'm like reinvigorated. I'm trading vol again. I'm like still long as fuck. I didn't close anything.
Right, just left it long.
Just left it long, and now I want to get like more long.
It's funny because like you guys taking a break was actually part of the product, right? Like this is not a good time to trade.
It's almost like never a good time to trade, really, like those months.
But most people just want to know, hey, should I enter in all the way? Should I enter in more? Should I be selling?
I'll be honest, like I'm looking to deploy capital. I always have like a really healthy cash position. That's like one of the tenets of my whole thing.
A la Morgan Housel, like 15, 20%?
I mean, like similar percentages, but I would call it a la Warren Buffett. Like
Okay.
not the
Yeah.
journalist, but the capital allocator.
Yeah.
But I like Morgan. Yeah, I like Morgan. But yeah, I'm always using the difference between me and Morgan Housel is that Morgan Housel like is such a wimp,
Yeah.
and he'll have like a 20% cash allocation, and he is choosing between index allocations and cash. And with his cash, he doesn't do a damn thing. And like with my cash, I'm like using that as collateral to do like really, like aggressive.
In money terms, you're an optimizer. Maybe Morgan Housel is like a satisficer.
Yeah. And I know that I'm a satisficer in like all other aspects of life.
Yeah.
But with money, I take my cash position and then I use as collateral to like sell options.
What
And
I miss?
Nothing. We were just talking. I was asking if Eric's experienced any fear or he's been defiantly bullish, and we talked about like you guys taking a break from irresponsibly long, and I was mentioning that it's part of the product. Like this was not a good time to micro trade, right? It was time to like log off, keep your long positions, and just like hold tight.
We had an episode like I think it was like in April when I went to Spain, and I was like, nothing's going to happen, and then we're going to freak out in Q3.
All right, so tee us up, dude. Tell us where we're at.
All right.
I feel like you're about to try to make an argument here with some charts.
while he teases up, can I?
Yep.
You go, baby. You go. Are you going to do the camera now?
Oh, I
Just
got
you
you.
and me?
I got you. I
All
got
right.
you.
I love it.
Camera
love it.
3.
All right, baby. So
What are we looking at here?
I am bullish as fuck. So anybody who's been paying attention knows that over the last few days, in reaction to the Trump incident, the popping noises, the market has done its own sort of repricing. But a lot of this has been underway for a while. So we're going to walk you through the thing I see taking place here. First, U.S. government bonds, the 2-year yield. This is a chart of the yield, right? So what do we have here? This is a beautiful little head and shoulders pattern. Looks bearish as fuck. Bearish 2-year yield is good. If you are earning 5% on your cash, like you probably don't feel the need to go pile into Nvidia or some risky thing. You're making 5%. But if this yield starts going down and you're suddenly earning like less and less and less money on your cash, now a lot of that money is going to go and seek in search of more risk. It's going to go out the risk curve. So this bearish as fuck yield chart is bullish. AF for risk assets.
You're not saying that Tina is making a full comeback, but some kind of reacquaintance with Tina, a run-in.
Like I forgot about Tina.
There is no alternative.
I know. I know what Tina.
I know.
Means. I just forgot it was a thing.
For,
You know,
the other people not in the room.
Forgot it was a thing. But yes, back in the day, there was no alternative to make anything on your money because yields were zero. So you had to buy risk, and that paradigm has gone away. For a while, people thought that was going to be like mega bearish, like Apple and Microsoft and Facebook. But it turned out that those companies could just slash expenses and then cash flow quite nicely, and they weren't so dependent on the sort of long-term rate of bonds, and that was like the discount
They
rate
actually
that
made
like
more
earnings
money.
are measured over.
They made more money because they had more cash earning yield than they did
Yes.
have debt.
But you know what sucked in the meantime is small caps.
Show us.
Like the Russell, for example, the Russell. But before we go to the Russell, we're going to take a break at the dollar.
Okay.
So the dollar has been doing nothing for a while. We had this mega blow off top during the kind of post-COVID hyperinflation era where Powell went full hawk. This thing just completely mooned, and then we had a mega breakdown. And then we've been kind of going sideways in this long range. We've ran the bottom of the range. We ran the top of the range. I think this thing is primed to dump kind of sub 100 into the 99, 98 area. We've got kind of like a double top into a previous supply area on the top of the range here. Almost like a triple top, if you will. You can see the market in recent weeks has just been like impulsively moving down. A Trump-Vance presidency is mega bearish for the dollar. If you want to bring a bunch of manufacturing back into the U.S., the last thing you want is a super strong dollar, because if the dollar is super strong, people can't buy your stuff, right? So the writing is on the wall for a weak dollar. And those of you who have been listening to me know that like a weak dollar is generally very bullish for Bitcoin. And very bullish for.
I feel like you're building
crypto
Lego blocks for
as a
us.
proxy.
We're building a wall
I
of
am
Lego
building
blocks.
Lego blocks,
I
right?
knew you were going to start with a dollar, and
We didn't start with the dollar. We started with this little inverted head and shoulders 2-year chart. You
on
missed
what?
it.
But now we've graduated
2-year
to
yields.
2-year
Okay.
So
Treasury.
I'm saying 2-year yields done. Stick a fork in them. Going down, baby.
dollar done.
Money coming out of bonds into risk. Dollar, toast, done. Bury it.
Wow. Good
Next here we have
TLDR.
the Russell 2000. So the Russell 2000.
Good one.
Smaller
Short
cap.
squeeze of
No,
all
I
shorts.
wanted to talk about this too.
So
Good one.
this thing has been getting murdered right, for a while, and a lot of people were befuddled as to why, because a lot of times when you come out of these like mega depressionary periods, like one of the first things to die going into these periods is the small caps, but then like often they're like one of the first things they come back. If not like immediately, they come back like pretty quickly, right? But the small caps did not really come back, right? And I think if I pull up the chart of small, so this is the small caps to the NASDAQ, right? And you can see this thing has been down only actually. Right. So the NASDAQ, like the Mag 7 in particular, right, has been slaughtering like all the small caps.
Yep.
And recently this year we had what I think is like a complete capitulation event in the small cap to large cap ratio in a way. And you can see that there's been a massive run up in these things. Massive run up, just complete reversal. So I think this is kind of one of the classic setups I like to trade, which is this kind of like long sideways ranging period and then a fake out in the opposite direction that you expect the move to go. So I'm actually quite bullish on small caps now. And if you pull up the kind of dollar value of the small caps chart, you'll see that although it is done okay, like this chart looks nothing like the NASDAQ chart, which is like well into the all-time high range. The Russell's still not making all-time highs. I'm not going to go into the mega details of like what this means. If you want to ask me about this chart in more detail, get into the nitty gritty of why I have these like magical boxes drawn where I have them.
Your Fibonacci art.
Yeah, we got some extensions and stuff in here, some AMDs drawn out. Whatever, come into the Discord. I'll explain it to you. But for just the people who want the TLDR out there, I am expecting like a 50 to 60% repricing in small caps very rapidly. I think this chart is bullish as fuck. I also think that small caps and crypto are pretty correlated.
Positively correlated. Okay,
I think they do
they're very
well in
positively
similar
correlated.
environments, right?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw this, but fuck, man, our boy Druckenmiller, in his latest 13F filing, which was just released, his largest holding is IWM.
Really?
No
Russell.
way.
Fuck
Russell.
No
yes.
fucking
The
way.
Russell 2000
Yes.
small
this
caps.
guy-
Yes.
He just doesn't fucking miss, dude.
I love accidentally being
How?
on the same side as
Wait,
Druck.
do you think he was like interest going down, the most interest rate sensitive like indexes,
I mean,
small caps?
I think it's like it speaks to the last chart more, where it's like these things were just like downtrodden so hard in amidst like a market pump that like it's like kind of due. I disagree with Steven's take that like that small caps are the place to park capital. Like I would rather own the megas, but it's definitely worked over the last 2 weeks.
yeah.
I mean, we're due for a violent repricing of small caps, I think. They've lagged super hard. I think one of the, look, like the main reason these things lag is because these small caps, they tend to not have like a lot of present day cash flow. They're sort of valued on their future growth expectations. And a big component of that is like the interest rate that is going into the multiple you're willing to pay for these things. So in like a ZERP environment, these things are just like, well, the sky's the limit if interest rates are zero. We'll put 100 multiple on them,
So
like whatever.
just to be clear, you're not bullish on this index. You're bullish on small caps because, like I mentioned how before, I think this index is like fundamentally flawed in its design.
I agree with what you're saying, but I
Okay.
still think this index is going to rip like 50 or 60%.
Okay.
So
So as a trade, like I still think this is actually quite a good trade.
to explain Nick's position, I know where you're going with this. Like, when you get like great companies that are small, they're part of the Russell Index, and as they become good companies, they grow out of the Russell Index.
You're forced
And-
to sell your biggest winners and
yeah, right.
you enter in more losers.
Yeah, you become part of the S&P 500, not the Russell 2000.
Right.
And I do think that the index is fundamentally flawed in that regard.
I would tend to agree with that, and I would also think that like if you want to express this as a trade, I wouldn't express this trade through the small caps. I would express it via crypto. But like I think this is like a mega bull indicator for what is to come with crypto or what is currently.
Okay. Show me more tabs.
Happening.
Well, hold on.
Okay, you got something?
Just one more thing on the small caps. I think the driving factor of these of the index right now is coming from two forms: regional banks, small regional banks, and biotech.
Really? Like,
Yeah.
you mean as a subsector of the
of
Russell?
the Russell. Yeah.
Regional
And the-
banks
and the
because
small
interest
regional-
rates are going down.
And the small regional, well, the whole finance sector has been fucking crushing. I don't know if you saw, like, Goldman, Merrill,
Bank of America.
just like absolutely crushing. I think all the regionals were kind of like downtrodden, and I think they're going to be like okay, more okay than we thought. And biotech is always kind of a crapshoot, but it's important to note like what is like driving this outperformance.
Good.
Not for me. I just draw the lines.
All right, show us more lines.
All right.
More lines, please.
So we showed you that. That was the ratio, completely reversing.
This is a chart of gold.
Gold
futures, to be exact. Gold futures are currently just in up-only mode. Broke out to all-time highs. First in like 2020, I think, kind of failed a couple times, and then people were like, "LOL, gold to zero," and then it just kind of did a mega fake out after everybody called the double top, and now we've ripped to 2,400 plus, and this is like interesting to me because we think of Bitcoin as digital gold. I think of Bitcoin as digital gold. I think digital gold is the correct analogy. It's also the reason why I'm not like omega bullish on Bitcoin. I think it's like an easy trade, but like if you build yourself as gold, it's not like a crazy awesome thing. It's like, yeah, better gold. But because it's gold, I think that the fractal in price that is playing out in gold can be like an analogy to Bitcoin. And I think if you see what happened here, what did you have? You had a break of all-time high. You had a double top, right? So 2 failures to make a higher high after that. And then you had this like nasty dip below this like giant range. And it looked very, very, very ugly. Price then V-reversed, and then we were swiftly back to all-time highs. What does the Bitcoin chart currently look like? Well, we have a similar thing here. We got all-time high breach. We got a top. We get a double top. We get a dip, a breakdown out of a range that everybody was calling doom from. And we are now in the process of like what could be a V reversal. I've superimposed the gold fractal on top of this. It looks fairly similar. So if this fractal does play out, which I think it will.
That's a great. I love the drawing you put on here because at first I thought that was real, but I really like that. And before you even drew that, it does look like the Office meme where it's like it's the same chart. Looks good.
Yeah, and like broadly speaking, I go on Twitter, right? And everybody is focused on, oh my God, the daily chart of Bitcoin broke structure, or the weekly chart broke structure. It's gonna go down. Look how bearish the daily is. But like, if you zoom out on the Bitcoin chart, like if you look at like a 3-month chart, the 3-month chart is bullish as fuck, in my opinion. And the 3-month chart just doesn't care about your daily chart. It doesn't. It can just reverse at any time. And you're going to be confused at why the random line you drew on the daily is like not holding anymore. What's going on? And it's because like the higher time frames matter. Zoom out. It's the reason I haven't done like a lot of trading since the spring, because I was like, okay, we probably topped. We probably range for a bit. We probably scare everybody in the summer, and then we go up only again. And I think that's what's been happening recently. I don't know if we could still put in a new low. We could. I don't think it's like mega likely. I think everything looks really good right now. So there's your Bitcoin chart. And if you want to go down the risk curve, right, this is a chart of Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance I've been calling out for a while, actually. Now, this is like a monthly chart. So monthly charts take a while to play out because 3 candles on a monthly chart is like 90 freaking days, right? But the monthly Bitcoin dominance chart to me is like extremely bullish. There's a lot of people in Bitcoin land who are like, Bitcoin as an ETF, Bitcoin is the king, Bitcoin is just going to soak up all of the money, altcoins are dead, blah, 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 blah. I don't buy into this at all. I actually think this is like the point of like probably maximum risk reward for altcoins relative to BTC. Like if you want to zoom in on like the mega technicals of this chart, you can kind of see what this looks like. Monthly candles, right? You've put in a high in the monthly, and then you have 1, 2, 3 kind of sweeps of that high, failure to close above on the monthly into like a mega zone of resistance. Resistance make price go down generally. That's my super analysis for you. Bitcoin dominance down means everything else in crypto is going up.
Yeah. This
On a
is not
relative
this is not going to
basis.
be this is not going to be driven in your mind by Bitcoin price necessarily going down, but by alts outperforming.
Correct. I think just alts are set to outperform, and then we have like our favorite chart of mine. This is others on TradingView. Others, I believe, is like everything outside of the top 10 on crypto. Kind of like an interesting chart. I think others is
It's like total 3.
it's like kind of like total 3, yeah, but like everything outside the top 10. I think
Okay.
total 3 is everything outside of like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Right.
So it
Okay.
includes like stable coins and stuff like that. So this is like the real shitters, you know, the real shitcoin market. This chart is just very classically bullish to me. This is a weekly chart. You can see price has bottomed on the 200-week MA in a strong area of support. We got the 0.618 fib, like all of these things pretty good. Like I refuse to believe that this is like that was the whole bull and it's over. I just refuse to believe that. I like these charts because they are aligning with what I perceive to be just like an incredible setup, because you have an administration out the door that has just been vehemently anti-crypto for so long that most of us, nearly all of us, have just acclimated to this as the norm, right? Like everybody in crypto has given up hope aside from like the diehards. Like if you scroll through crypto Twitter, it is nihilism. It is just like whatever. The shit's not going to do anything.
PvP only.
Let's just make some money. It's PvP. Like people have forgotten like what a bull market is, like what a bull market can feel like. And I think that like that loss of hope combined with the chart setup, the price action, combined with this administration, like the president is like he's speaking at a Bitcoin conference, or the probably will be president is speaking at a Bitcoin conference. His VP nominee is a certified degenerate.
Just
Just
on the blockchain
full
certified.
degen. Like this guy is definitely doing shit.
What about his Treasury Secretary nominee, though, potentially Jamie Dimon?
I heard that. Don't think it matters. I think Jamie Dimon wants to make money. I think if Jamie Dimon can make money on crypto, let's make money on crypto.
He's not gonna make money on crypto. He's gonna make money by selling all his like net worth with no capital gains because he needs to become Treasury Secretary and not have conflict of interest.
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, continue.
Also bullish.
Also bullish.
That's like honestly that's mainly my shit. I am very bullish. I am max long at this point. Feels like last summer again to me. Like I cannot believe they're letting us do it again, but they're letting us do it again, and I cannot believe that people are so fucking bearish, because people literally just react to what the price is, and if the price is down, they're bearish, and it's just like a sick mentality.
Okay, so great charts, dude. Agree. Best way, guys, to express the bullish view. Thoughts?
I have my Coinbase options.
Yep.
I got my Bitcoin miner options.
Yep.
I got some like AI connector play options.
Love those.
And
Love
then
those.
I have NASDAQ S&P plus a boatload of ETH.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of like exposes you to the spectrum of outcomes potentially.
Yeah, it's funny because like in my spreadsheet, I have like my public equity portfolio, my crypto portfolio, but I realize like in my trading portfolio, the one I can like tinker around with when I play with options, it's actually very crypto
Yeah.
exposed.
Yeah.
So
No, I asked because like, you know, in over the past 18 months, 24 months, we have you know, like played the game of like trying to make the best call within the realm of like bullish calls. And I think Coinbase was a good one, right? Like Coinbase was like
so far,
an example of like something that definitely worked from the time that we called it to now. Outperformed ETH, Bitcoin, outperformed the altcoins like WIF and all that other crap. Probably.
Maybe.
So you know, I think
You're saying you think coin outperforms WIF?
well, I don't even play in that game, so probably. But
No,
I think
I would disagree with that specifically. I think it's an interesting question, like
Like
what
no.
outperforms.
I'm not saying that it will outperform. I'm saying that it did.
It didn't. No, it didn't.
Maybe your
outperform
options
memes.
did.
Yeah, maybe Whiff did better.
I'm glad we actually don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah. I actually
I
don't.
know the answer to this question. Bonk and Whiff annihilated your Coinbase position.
Okay.
Even if you did calls, like you'd be up like thousands of X.
Thousands of X.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
like insane returns if you
Okay.
made the trade at the same time.
Yeah, and even if
which virtually nobody did.
right, and
so
even
don't
if
feel
you even if you still hold your Whiff, but you were buying it at like a penny, now it's at $1.70, then it did outperform. Okay.
Yeah. Like,
So what are you guys thinking in terms of fastest horse if we
Right. I
are
think-
right of our bullish bias?
And you don't necessarily need to have the fastest. You need to be exposed to fast horses. You don't need the fastest horse, but it is
fastest sharp adjusted.
no.
Ooh.
I think it is important to just like be exposed to fast horses. Like I'll be honest. Like if I like 8x my coin position, which I go heavy in, like I'm happy there, even if I didn't 1000x a little dust position in like a shit coin. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like I'm still happy.
I think if you're making like the degen roaring trennies narrative trade, like in the Coinbase realm, like I can make a pretty strong argument that like Robinhood like outperforms, because it's sort of like I don't know. I feel like it's sort of like this Solana to Ethereum
Yeah.
in a way, where if like you just think that the tides are changing and like degeneracy will reign supreme, like well obviously Robinhood is more of a degeneracy play in the crypto realm than Coinbase, because I think Coinbase they're like custodying ETFs, and I think Robinhood they'll just list every dumb meme coin, and they're also like I think still in the shitter a little more than Coinbase is. Like I don't own a ton of Robinhood, I still own mostly coin. I think it's a simpler play. That's interesting.
About non-crypto stonks.
We don't care about those.
No, I for sure do. And like, like the whole AI narrative, we really sort of like missed on combination of Alfalfa and Irresponsibly Long. Not like we missed it, but we just like didn't give it its like its
Didn't
due.
hit it hard. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't give it its due. I think that where I stand now, I really like still the AI narrative. And I'm talking like the entire AI narrative. So like the mega caps, I want to like wait and see on Nvidia and ASML, but I'm like ready to go
What
like
about Apple? You buying Apple?
less so, but yeah, potentially. But like basically all Mag 7, I pretty much am waiting for the moment to just go.
What about stocks like
So
Marvell, like the little
I-
Ethernet connectors?
I feel like you guys are buying Bitcoin in like December 2017 after Bitcoin is ripped so fucking hard, right? And in reality, like Bitcoin went down sideways and everything downstream just like turbo ripped before like everything died. I
There's-
feel like the rotation, broadly speaking, is happening. Like in crypto, we talk about the Bitcoin to Ethereum to alts rotation and stuff like that. I think that extends beyond crypto, right? I think there's like a wealth generation event, and then people move down the risk curve. Like the wealth generation event, like already happened, and it happened in like Nvidia and like the Nvidia equivalent, and that stuff will, I think, keep going up. But I think like as everything goes like turbo low IQ, like the money is gonna flow downhill, and I think it flows into crypto, and I think crypto becomes like the obvious like catch up like kind of higher beta play. So it's like hard for me to like buy Nvidia here when I look at like
Yeah.
like Ethereum
Look.
and Solana and stuff.
Look, like you could very well be right, but like there are plenty of AI plays that haven't experienced Nvidia's meteoric rise, and that's what Nick was alluding to. Is like there are like these, like what Citrini had like labeled the interconnect plays.
Mhm.
Yep.
Like so, Munters, which Nick put me on months ago, I bought. It's up 21% today.
Wish you would respond to my text faster.
Yeah.
Munters.
Sorry about that. This is like Swedish data center cooling play, so you can trade it on Interactive Brokers,
I
up
love-
21%.
I love the Swedish data center cooling place.
Dude, up 21% today. And like, what's WIF doing today? Like,
Wait, it was up 21 today?
yeah, today.
Motherfuck.
So like,
I mean, Pepe was up like 18% yesterday. So
okay, but I'm just saying, like, it's not just playing NVIDIA is the only way to play AI. There are other plays that are like are probably gonna experience the same catch up.
That is fair, and I agree with that take. I agree with that for sure. But like, I also wonder like if you're gonna play AI, if like just I think the crypto AI narrative probably catches second wins too.
Well, maybe, but like, you definitely have a risk of like these things being just pure dog shit.
I mean, you have the same risk in the AI stocks. Like the vast majority of them, I think, will turn out to be dog shit.
Fair.
It's like if most of these people are just buying something to get really rich over the next 2 years anyway, then your time horizon, I feel like in crypto and like it's the same thing. You're kind of buying lotto tickets. I think you're correct. Like if you're like, I need to park my capital in something for 10 years and go into a coma, then yeah, there's probably some better places in the stock market.
They're not the same in that, like, you know, the one that Urbani showed me, Munters, is trading at 15 times EBITDA. So, like, that is a real business like that is growing. The reason why it jumped 21% is because it's growing its revenues, it's growing its earnings. You can't apply that to, you know, like shit crypto.
I'm so mad at Schwab. I called them. I'm like, hey, I'm a active trader on your platform. I need access to the stock. Like, is there an ADR? Is there... Oh, fucking hell.
I think there is an ADR.
Oh, God. Even worse.
Yeah.
All
Sorry.
right.
Sorry, man.
Anyway, all right. Closing thoughts, folks, as we wrap it up. Anything to part us with?
I just feel good, man. I feel good. I feel really good when sentiment is the opposite of fundamentals and charts, and they all align perfectly. Also with timing, which I think is very underrated when you're trading. I think all of these things are like very well aligned right now, and I think we are on the precipice of being able to make like a bunch of interesting generational trades. And I think like everything looks like pretty interesting. Like I obviously think like Bitcoin and ETH and Sol like look interesting, and like I think memes look interesting, but like also I think real crypto projects look interesting. I think your makers and your Uniswaps and all this stuff like looks interesting because you're entering an era where there might be like a regulatory framework for these things to turn into like cash flowing assets that can trade, and I think that's cool and interesting. And
That I
even
agree
the
with.
stuff that I think has gone to complete hell, like so the hallmark of the last 8 to 12 months, I think, has been the complete decimation of these sort of like VC coins, these like low float, high FDV coins, like your Arbitrums of the world, right? Where they launch the coin with some massive supply, and then everybody just sells their unlocks into perpetuity. I think even these coins like have been so beaten into the ground and like written off. Like if you talk to anybody out there right now, like nobody's like, yeah, I'm really stoked to be buying like Optimism. Like the Optimism is like ironically named at this point, right? Because it is just nothing but like death and despair. Like I think even that shit is like going to be an easy trade at some point, because at some point like retail comes back and they don't care about like cash flows or any of this stuff because they never did before, and then like everybody's sold, so even that stuff could go up. So I think it's really
Go up to my break even.
I think it's,
Come get me.
Yeah, please.
yeah, I think it's a really interesting time. And I see the framework for the Roaring 20s.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm an optimist.
Well said.
Eric, anything else?
No, I agree.
All right. Look at the charts to save your life. Look at the charts to
Yeah.
feel bullish.
I would also say like it was like about a year ago, roughly. Do you remember what was it? 2 years ago? I can't remember. Do you remember we did like the S&P to 6,000 episode, and it was like
Yeah?
it was just like full retard episode.
Your NASDAQ call was
But
on
it
point.
ended up like I think the same thing is going to happen in crypto. I do. It'll be a little lagged, and there will be larger swings for sure. But I am pretty optimistic. I feel good.
Okay. Feel good too. Let us know what you guys think. We obviously went a little heavy politics. I think it's a good time of the year to do it, but let us know
Yeah.
what you think.
By
If
the
you're
way, if anybody like hates any of my political takes, feel free to come into the Discord and talk to me.
yeah, send them.
I won't go full Ryan Selkis on you.
No, light us up.
It's cool, man. Like we can talk. I'm probably
Yeah.
wrong about a lot of stuff.
Selgus is
Chill.
getting so gnarly.
Selkis is, yeah, I think he's all over the deep end, but maybe that's a discussion for another day. I am happy to chat with you in the politics channels. I love that we can all talk in there. We're talking about stuff right now. I just pulled up my phone. I got 5 notifications in the politics channel, which is not good. Tom is probably yelling at me as we speak.
Strong convictions loosely held.
Yes, very loosely held.
Very loosely held on this side of the camera. If you guys are still watching, and I can see you guys still are, give a like to the video. It tickles the algorithm, helps us out. Yeah, if you're not in the Discord, join us at alfalfapod.com. All the links are there. Otherwise, guys, we love you much, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Adios.
Adios.